Chapter 1809. Many people could see Dong Huang Ying's expression. Their gazes were filled with pity when they looked at her. The little princess of the Dong Huang clan, even if she didn't have Yu Changkong's identity, she would still be extremely dazzling and have an extraordinary status. In the future, her husband would surely be an outstanding character. Back then, after the Dong Huang clan agreed to Yu Changkong's marriage proposal, how lively was the Dong Huang clan's royal palace. How glorious was Dong Huang Ying. Everyone felt that they were a perfect match. World overlords all went to congratulate her. But what about now? Her fiancé was actually a swindler. In that case, what should they do about this marriage? If Yu Changkong didn't lie to everyone, leaving aside the fact that he obtained the Time King's inheritance, just based on his talent alone, he would be extremely compatible with Dong Huang Ying. But the problem was that Yu Changkong obtained the Dong Huang clan's recognition through deception. In that case, would the Dong Huang clan still accept him now? Would Dong Huang Ying be able to endure such a great disparity? Her fiancé was a supreme genius, the disciple of a heavenly deity. Yet, he instantly fell into hell and became a swindler. Such a marriage was like a joke. In addition, Yu Changkong had always been staying in the royal palace of the Dong Huang clan. In that case, most probably, something already happened between Dong Huang Ying and Yu Changkong. In that case, would this little princess of the Dong Huang clan still be able to match up to those supreme geniuses in the future? Such a character, who would still be able to accept her? From now on, it was unknown how many people would roll their eyes at her and mock her in the dark. One step to heaven, one step to hell. How sad and lamentable. For those who were deceived, they merely went to congratulate them. No one would remember those world overlords. However, the Dong Huang clan was clearly the one that suffered the most. Among them, Dong Huang Ying suffered the most, followed by the Ziwei divine court. As a hegemonic power at the peak of the mystic region, a heavenly deity was deceived. Also, this was because he was protecting Yu Changkong against Qin Wenyin and was exposed by Qin Wenyin. This was truly a smacking of face. Hence, even before he left, that major character from the Ziwei divine court still said that Qin Wenyin was speaking nonsense. His purpose was merely to protect the face of the Ziwei divine court and his heavenly deity senior brother. As for what the truth was, he most probably already knew it in his heart. In addition, after they brought Yu Changkong back to the divine court, they would have too many methods to interrogate him. Yu Changkong's ending was hard to predict. I once treated you as a friend. Since you knew the truth, why didn't you tell me directly? Dong Huang Ying's pale expression was extremely unsightly to behold. Her beautiful eyes flickered with resentment as she stared at Qin Wenyin. Right now, she clearly already believed that the God King's inheritance wasn't obtained by Yu Changkong but by Qin Wenyin. However, she still only felt resentment towards Qin Wenyin. If Qin Wenyin had told her back then, all of this wouldn't have happened. Qin Wenyin felt somewhat speechless as he stared at Dong Huang Ying. She actually dared to question him in such a righteous manner? This sounded truly ridiculous. Even 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Dong Huang Ying, do you truly treat Brother Qin as a friend? Or should I say, the so-called friend, in your eyes is so worthless? When Yu Changkong expressed a hint of goodwill towards you, you completely forgot about the word friend. I still remember back then when Brother Qin and Yu Changkong had a conflict. What attitude did you have? You couldn't have forgotten about it, right? Brother Qin didn't even tell us about this. Why would he tell you? Phoenix calmly spoke, mocking. This matter was originally Qin Wentian's own secret. Did he really have to tell you, Dong Huang Ying? Even if he wants to tell you, it would depend on whether you are worthy or not. Chao Tian mocked. This woman actually hated Qin Wenyin instead. How ridiculous. I don't understand what truth Little Princess is speaking of. I only know that back then when Little Princess came into contact with Yu Changkong, I've already reminded Little Princess that Yu Changkong's character has problems. If Little Princess treats me as a friend, you should believe my words and not feel that I'm jealous of Yu Changkong and intentionally belittled him. Qin Wenyin calmly replied. As for the matter of the God King's inheritance, from the start to the end, he didn't personally admit that he obtained it. It's up to you all what you think. But I won't admit it. 10 Miles Springwind and the others were speechless as they stared at Qin Wenin. This fellow truly hid his achievements and fame. Was he not afraid of being struck by lightning? Dong Huang Ying's countenance turned even paler. Qin Wenin had indeed reminded her before, and he had reminded her several times. At that time, her heart was only filled with Yu Changkong, her destined husband. How could she have cared about Qin Wentian's words? Why is there a need to bother with such a woman? At this moment, Luo Xunlei walked over and spoke to Qin Wenin. Qin Wentian, the matters here have been settled. I'm preparing to return to the desolate region. She came here to bid farewell. It was time for her to leave. This time around, the Luoshan clan and Qin Wentian worked together to deal with the Dragon Pool Manor. But she could say that it was because the Dragon Pool Manor had once offended the Luoshan clan's prestige. This was the truth. But from now on, she mustn't be too close to Qin Wentian on the surface. If not, others would suspect her. I'm preparing to return to the Qingqing realm first before heading to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Miss Luoshan, I wonder when we would meet again. Take care on your journey. Qin Wentian spoke. Farewell. Luo Xunlei nodded. After that, she turned and departed with Lifeless and the others. At the same time, she transmitted her voice. Elder brother, I'm leaving. I hope you can come to the Luoshan clan to visit me as soon as possible. Lei, take good care of uncle. Qin Wenin transmitted his voice in reply. Luo Xunlei nodded. Her figure gradually vanished, causing many people to feel a sense of disappointment and frustration. That supreme beauty from the Luoshan clan was the daughter of a heavenly deity, a young miss of the Luoshan clan. Her status was even more outstanding compared to Dong Huang Ying. Although she only appeared briefly in the mystic region, many people still remembered her. Brother Qin, this Miss Luo Xunlei seems to have some feelings for you. Her background is much more noble compared to some people. Why don't you consider wooing her? 10 Miles Springwind spoke in a shameless manner. Qin Wenin glared at him, but he was long used to 10 Miles Springwind's shamelessness. Dong Huang Ying's expression froze. Who was this some people referring to? Given Luo Xunlei's status, it was indeed much more noble compared to her. Also, Luo Xunlei's birth determined that there was no need for her to rely on men to raise her status. Let's leave. The people of the Donghuang clan had lost all face today. If they stayed here, they would only be mocked by others. Right now, many people were looking at them with gazes that made them feel extremely uncomfortable. Dong Huang Ying was a little dazed. She cast a deep glance at Qin Wenin and left with the people of the Donghuang clan, feeling an intense sense of regret in her heart. Qin Wenin was the true extraordinary character fated to be born in the mystic region. He was the future monarch. As for her, she had already obtained his friendship, but it was destroyed by her own hands. In fact, there was even hatred between the two of them. How laughable was all of this? Sometimes life was like a dream, so surreal. After Dong Huang Ying and the others left, 10 Miles Springwind spoke to Qin Wentian. Wentian, are you really preparing to leave and not stay for a period of time? I've been out for a period of time. It's about time for me to return to the Qingqing realm. Qin Wentian spoke. Right, there's no banquet that never ends in life. We will naturally meet again in the future. 10 Miles Springwind smiled. He was staying in Time City and was running an inn. He naturally wouldn't leave. Maybe when I meet Brother Qin again, Brother Qin would already be a monarch character. The beautiful eyes of the phoenix smiled. Qin Wenin wouldn't be able to cultivate for 1,000 years, and the convention of the myriad realms was held once every 10,000 years. It was very normal for them to meet once every 10,000 years. Only heaven knew how strong Qin Wenin would be by then. If that's the case, I would be someone who was a bandit together with the monarch. In the future, I can use this as a topic of conversation in the inn to collect more fees. 10 Miles Springwind laughed uproariously. The faces of Qin Wenin and the others were all filled with black lines. Qin Wenin, when you come to the Tiandao Sacred Academy, you can directly inform me. The major character of the Tiandao Sacred Academy spoke to Qin Wenin. Right, Junior will definitely head there. Qin Wentian replied. I will make a move first. That major character nodded to Qin Wendian. After that, the people of the Tiandao Sacred Academy left. After sending off the experts of the Tiandao Sacred Academy with his gaze, Qin Wendian turned to the people of the Dragon Pool Manor. Don't forget the oath you guys made. As for me, I will wait for you guys to come and take revenge anytime. The expressions of the experts from the Dragon Pool Manor were extremely complicated when they stared at Qin Wendian. This person killed their manor lord, causing the Dragon Pool Manor to suffer a calamity. Yet in the end he still chose to spare them, not killing the weeds by the roots and waiting for them to take revenge. If they tossed aside their hatred, such magnanimity were truly admirable. However, they were destined to be enemies. Although they were destined to be enemies, would their Dragon Pool Manor really be able to take revenge? Qin Wendian was the true successor of the Time King, a future monarch character. Did the Dragon Pool Manor still want to continue assassinating him? What if he changed his mind one day and destroyed the Dragon Pool Manor with a wave of his hand? Most probably, they would never be able to take revenge for this. Go, let's return to the inn. Today, we won't return until we are drunk. 10 Miles Springwind spoke. Qin Wendian nodded. After that, the group of them returned to the 10 Miles Inn. Today, 10 Miles Springwind actually took out a lot of wine. The few of them drank for an entire night, truly not returning until they were drunk. On the second day, 10 Miles Springwind and the others directly lay down in the pavilion. The morning breeze gusted by, feeling a little cold. 10 Miles Springwind, who was lying on the ground, opened his eyes. Old Ghost, Chao Tian and Phoenix had both woken up. Where is he? 10 Miles Springwind asked. He has already left. He brought his family with him. Chao Tian replied. It wasn't easy for us to meet each other. I didn't expect that back then. I actually became friends with a future monarch. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Old Ghost, what do you think? Phoenix asked. His talent isn't inferior to Jian Junlai. It's only a matter of time before he becomes a heavenly deity. Old Ghost narrowed his eyes. Life is like a dream. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Life is like a dream. Why don't we drink until we are drunk? How much good wine do you still have? Before we leave, take it out and share it with everyone. There's no need to be reluctant. Chao Tian spoke. Scram. 10 Miles Springwind's expression instantly turned black. Chapter 1810. The Qingqing realm was the same as before. Given Qin Wendian's current prestige, there naturally wouldn't be any huge waves in the Qingqing realm. Right now in the Qingqing realm, Yi Qinyu was in charge of everything. Naturally, most of the time, she only needed to give out orders in the Qingqing Saint Hall. The specific matters would be carried out by her subordinates. As for the 9 world palaces, they were all managed by their respective world palaces. The Qingqing Saint Hall naturally wouldn't be as lively as the lifelong Saint Hall. The lifelong Realm Lord's harem was filled with beauties. But after Qin Wendian brought Qing'er and Qingqing with him, there was only a single female lord in the Qingqing Saint Hall. At this moment, in a certain area of the Qingqing Saint Hall, a beautiful figure quietly stood there, her beautiful eyes staring into the distance. She exuded magnificence through the generations. Her sexy figure and beautiful countenance didn't exude a sense of nobility. She was like a queen who could bewitch the masses. This person was none other than Yi Qinyu. Right now, her beautiful eyes flickered with anticipation. She had already received a message from Qin Wendian that he would be arriving soon. Finally, the wind and clouds in the sky started to churn, after which intense spatial fluctuations could be felt as a group of silhouettes directly descended from the spatial gate, arriving in the air above. The person in the lead was clad in white robes, his entire body untainted by even a speck of dust. Compared to when he left, the aura he exuded seemed to have changed slightly. It was as though he had become even more extraordinary. Yi Qinyu's beautiful eyes flashed with a smile. In an instant, the scenery in the world seemed to lose its color. Qin Wendian's silhouette flashed and appeared beside her. He smiled. Why are you waiting outside? Yi Qinyu's beautiful eyes stared at him with hidden bitterness. Her expression caused Qin Wendian to feel a little guilty. Everyone laughed when they saw this scene. Many people silently left, giving time to Qin Wendian and his 3 wives. Very soon, only Qin Wendian and his 3 wives remained. Wendian, I have some things to say to elder sister Qing. I will return first. She held onto Qing'er's hand and left this place. They accompanied Qin Wendian to participate in the convention of the myriad realms together, but only Yi Qinyu stayed here. Given Qingqing's understanding nature, she would naturally give Yi Qinyu some time. Even Qingqing is more considerate than you. Yi Qinyu smiled at Qin Wendian. Who said that? Qin Wendian stretched out his hand, gently caressing Yi Qinyu's hair as he spoke in a gentle voice. How have you been recently? Everything is fine, except for a certain someone. Yi Qinyu pouted. Then I'll make it up to you for the next few days. Qin Wendian gently spoke. Before Yi Qinyu could continue complaining, she was directly carried up by Qin Wendian. After being stunned for a moment, she obediently leaned into Qin Wendian's embrace, allowing him to carry her back to the Qingqing realm. The news of the realm lord's return soon circulated. Other than Nanfeng Yaoyue and the others who followed Qin Wendian, the desolate Heaven Palace, Xinyuan Palace, and Healan Palace lords all came to the Qingqing realm to pay their respects. Right now, Qin Wendian's authority was even higher compared to the lifelong realm lord back then. When they arrived at the lifelong Saint Hall, they soon received another piece of news. Quite a few palace lords who participated in the convention with Qin Wendian, as well as the people around him, have all broken through, transcending the Empyrean realm and entered the legendary world Overlord realm that could only be seen from afar. This realm was on the same level as the lifelong realm lord. Right now in the Qingqing realm, there were quite a few of them who followed Qin Wendian to participate in the convention of the myriad realms. After everyone learned of this news, one could very well imagine the shock in their hearts. They could only hate themselves for not being Qin Wendian's trusted aides. The current Qingqing realm lord was much more outstanding compared to the lifelong realm lord back then. They basically couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Qin Wendian only met with them once and ignored them. After all, what status did Qin Wendian have? He was a realm lord and naturally had the prestige of a realm lord. Back then when he was a palace lord, could it be that he could meet with the lifelong realm lord whenever he wanted to? Clearly, it was impossible. He was very busy. How would he have the time to meet with his subordinates for no reason? Next, other than accompanying his beauties, he still had to stabilize his cultivation base. After that, he would set off for the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The various palace lords naturally wouldn't have any complaints. Jialan Jiangshan directly stayed in the Jialan clan and didn't return to the Jialan Palace. He would often bring Jialan Chuyue to the Qingqing realm to pay a visit. Even if he couldn't meet with Qin Wendian, he still wanted to familiarize himself with him. Their Jialan clan's relationship with Qin Wendian was somewhat different. During these few days, many experts suddenly appeared in the Qingqing realm. It was rumored that there were many Empyreans among them. In fact, there were even people who saw that these Empyreans were extremely respectful to them, treating them as subordinates. For the next period of time, more and more experts arrived. The people in the lead were all extremely imposing experts with unfathomable cultivation bases. Among them, Empyreans were as common as the clouds. In the top-grade inns and restaurants in Qingqing, there would often be such rumors. These people were all staying here. For a period of time, the entire city was shaken. Everyone was guessing who these people were and what they wanted to do by coming to the Qingqing realm. Very swiftly, even more shocking news circulated out. The person in the lead was actually a world overlord character. There were people who saw them meeting each other and referring to each other as world overlords. Such a major news instantly caused a huge commotion in the city. The Xinyuan Palace was shaken, the Jialan clan was shaken, all the peak powers in the city were shaken as they felt a sense of unease. Could it be that their world overlords had caused trouble outside? So many world overlords came to the Qingqing realm. They heard that the realm lord went to participate in the convention of the myriad realms in the mystic region. Did he offend someone? The people of the Qingqing realm didn't forget how Qin Wendian became the Qingqing realm lord. He fought his way up step by step and was definitely someone who liked to cause trouble. Back then, he had caused a huge commotion. In the Jialan clan, a group of core characters gathered together. Why are you putting on airs? You can't even meet him. After becoming a world overlord, things are different. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed with bitterness as she grumbled. Jialan Yuntian wanted to find out what happened exactly, but he basically couldn't meet Qin Wenyan. Don't talk nonsense. Chuyue, you should know his current status. Why don't you try to get in contact with Di Tian? Jialan Jiangshan spoke. I'm not going. Jialan Chuyue shook her head, feeling complicated in her heart. Father. At this moment, Jialan Yunhai came over and called out, I just received news that something major is going to happen. Those major powers in the city actually gathered together and are currently heading towards the direction of the lifelong Saint Hall. Who are they exactly? What's going on? Jialan Jiangshan's eyes flashed. They came from different places. Right now, the rumors have already been confirmed. There are quite a few powerful world overlords among them, and all of them are world overlords of their own territories. They are currently leading their troops to the Qingqing realm. Jialan Yunhai spoke. He then continued, for this trip, they seem to only have a single purpose. That is the Qingqing Saint Hall. Jialan Jiangshan's eyes flashed with sharpness. Could it be that something was really going to happen? The arrival of so many world overlords together at the Qingqing Saint Hall caused him to feel very uneasy. If Qin Wenyan really offended a major character outside, the Qingqing realm would no longer be at peace. What are they going to do? Did you manage to find out? Jialan Yuntian's eyes twitched as he asked. I don't know yet. I'm still sending people to monitor them and report back. Jialan Yunhai replied. This is an opportunity. Although the world overlord is known to cause trouble, he is definitely a heaven-defying genius. Many of his subordinates have already broken through to the world overlord realm. If we want to become his trusted aides, we have to experience some things first. Let's go, we can head to the Qingqing Saint Hall now. Jialan Jiangshan spoke as he prepared to move out. Jialan Yunhai's eyes flashed. How could they interfere in the matters of world overlords? They were merely going there to express their loyalty. Wasn't his father afraid that he might be implicated? Not only for the Jialan clan, everyone in the vast city was paying attention to this matter. This news was too shocking, causing huge waves of commotion. The world overlords from the various regions all gathered together and headed towards the direction of the Qingqing Saint Hall. This was definitely going to be a heaven-shaking event. Countless people also headed towards the Qingqing Saint Hall. They wanted to see what was going to happen exactly. Today, the sun was shining brightly and there was a light breeze in the air, causing people to feel extremely comfortable. However, the people in the city were all extremely tense. Some governors have already arrived outside the Qingqing Saint Hall, preparing to deal with the impending storm. At the foot of the flight of stairs leading to the Qingqing Saint Hall, countless experts gathered. Their gazes were all focused on a single location, at a group of people who were flying over from afar. The people in the lead all exuded an extraordinary aura and were extremely imposing. They were all lofty experts of their respective regions. They are here. The hearts of everyone trembled. Cut. Many people clenched their fists tightly, feeling incomparably nervous. This time around, what sort of storm would there be? At this moment in the lifelong Saint Hall, many people were waiting in formation, feeling uneasy. Even Yi Qinyu felt uneasy. Her beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wenyan. The various world overlords have already arrived outside the lifelong Saint Hall. What are they doing here? How would I know? Qin Wenyan shook his head and bitterly smiled. How would he know what the people outside were doing here? You wouldn't be causing trouble again, right? Yi Qinyu felt somewhat speechless when she saw how relaxed Qin Wenyan was. Even she felt a little uneasy. Elder sister Qinyu, don't worry. Nothing will happen. Mo Qingqing smiled. They had experienced many storms and waves in the convention. Although she didn't know the exact reason why these world overlords came here, she understood that they definitely weren't here to cause trouble. They didn't have the guts to do so. Most probably, there weren't many people in the mystic region who would have the guts to do so. Really? Yi Qinyu's beautiful eyes stared at Mo Qingqing. Qingqing, tell me then. What are they doing here? I have no idea as well. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes blinked. She stared at Yi Qianyu's scrutinizing gaze as an innocent expression appeared on her face. She truly had no idea. At this moment, below the stairway, the experts from the various powers all halted their steps and stared in the direction of the Qingqing Saint Hall. At this moment, the hearts of countless people were extremely tense. The figures of the Jialan clan flashed over. Jialan Jiangshan spoke. "We made it in time. Seems like something major is going to happen." Everyone turned their gazes to the experts from the mystic region, waiting for the storm to arrive. "The 7 Luminaries Realm Lord of the mystic region is here to pay my respects to Senior Qingqing Realm Lord." At this moment, a world overlord called out in the direction of the Qingqing Saint Hall. "The Wang Realm Lord is here to pay my respects to Senior Qingqing Realm Lord." A second voice rang out. "The Blazing Sun Realm Lord is here to pay my respects to Senior Qingqing Realm Lord." A second voice rang out. Voices rose and fell, echoing down the stairs of the Qingqing Temple. At this moment, the heavens and earth were silent, only the heartbeat of the crowd could be heard. Chapter 1811. The various world overlords led their experts here, but they didn't come here for revenge like what many people thought. They came here to pay their respects. The various world overlords all referred to the Qingqing Realm Lord as Senior. What did this mean? Qin Wenin just returned from the convention of the Myriad Realms, and the world overlords came here to pay their respects. This meant that their Qingqing Realm Lord had accomplished some glorious deeds during the convention. This was why so many world overlords came here to pay their respects. If not, why would other world overlords come to pay their respects to him? Also, they came in groups. From this, one could see that the weight of a single world overlord wasn't enough. Jialan Jiangshan's gaze froze. He was completely dumbstruck and speechless. After that, he silently mused in his heart that he had truly aged. He only thought that Qin Wendian might have caused trouble, but he didn't think about how famous Qin Wendian was. Because he didn't even dare to imagine that a world overlord who ascended to the throne not long ago would have such glorious deeds. Comparing the lifelong realm lord to Qin Wendian was simply an insult to Qin Wendian. They weren't characters on the same level at all. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes also froze as her heart trembled. After that, a hint of disappointment flashed through her eyes. This was Qin Wendian, the Qingqing Realm Lord Qin Wendian. He once defeated the Lifire Empyrean in a single battle and replaced him. After that, he killed the lifelong Realm Lord and replaced him. Now, after he returned from the convention of the Myriad Realms, so many world overlords came to pay their respects to him. What sort of talent was this? Who would be able to obstruct his footsteps? Most probably, this was what it meant by supreme. Outside the Qingqing Saint Hall, experts were as common as the clouds. The spectators were countless and their hearts pounded rapidly. It took a long time for them to calm down as they stared at the lofty Qingqing Saint Hall. Their realm lord, that white-robed young man, was already walking on the path of a legend. Maybe they had to cherish every chance they had to see him, because maybe many years later he would only exist in the legends. When Yi Qianyu, who was in the Qingqing Saint Hall, heard this voice, her beautiful eyes also froze. After that, she turned her gaze to Qin Wendian as she smiled. This was the man she loved. He was destined to be extraordinary, and just like what she had predicted, he was climbing to the peak step by step. The world overlord realm wasn't his limit. Very early on, when they were still in the heavenly city, in the Thousand Feathers Palace, she already knew that his future would not be ordinary. Otherwise, she would not have gradually fallen in love with him. Reality was also proving that her judgment was not wrong. "What should we do? Do you need me to step in?" Yi Qianyu gently smiled. After all, many world overlords came here to pay their respects. No matter what, there should at least be an important character receiving them, right? Qin Wendian bitterly smiled as he shook his head. Although he knew that it was impossible for Qin Wendian to come here for revenge, he was still somewhat taken aback. He didn't expect that someone would come to the Qingqing realm so quickly and come here to pay a visit. Truly, humans are afraid of being famous while pigs are afraid of being fat. Qin Wentian's name shook the Time realm during the convention of the Myriad Realms, and he also caused such a huge commotion in Time City. It was impossible for him not to be famous even if he didn't want to. As for the reputation of the Qingqing Realm Lord, it was only normal for world overlords to come here to look for him. Maybe this person was from a nearby world overlord. However, to Qin Wentian, this was merely an unnecessary trouble. Outside the Qingqing Saint Hall, there were also countless people waiting for their Qingqing Realm Lord to come out. When they saw that supreme silhouette, they really wanted to know what accomplishments the Qingqing Realm Lord had in the outside world. Compared to back then when he killed the lifelong Realm Lord, how much stronger was he now? You guys came from afar, you guys can tour the city for a few days before returning. A voice rang out from the Qingqing Saint Hall, filled with calmness. This voice wasn't loud, but it rang out clearly in the ears of everyone. When they heard this, the hearts of many people trembled violently again. The meaning behind this sentence was a single word: not to be seen. The various world overlords personally came to pay their respects, but the Qingqing Realm Lord's attitude was that he wouldn't see any guests. Many people were speechless. Was this arrogance or arrogance? Naturally it wasn't. Back then at the 10 Miles Inn, many world overlords came to the inn to pay their respects to the absolute beginning overlord. However, the absolute beginning overlord didn't want to see any guests. How would a hegemonic level world overlord have the time to meet people of no importance? If every world overlord came to meet him, wouldn't that be troublesome? What would they say after the meeting? What was the point of exchanging pleasantries? Before he became famous, if he went to pay his respects to other famous world overlords, would they accept him? Of course not. What sort of character was Qin Wentian? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was the most dazzling character in the convention. He was the successor of the Time King and had killed the Dragon Pool Manor Lord. Even the heavenly deities of the Tiandao Sacred Academy were willing to be his teacher. With such a status, even ordinary hegemonic-level world overlords wouldn't be able to stand on equal footing with him. If they could meet with Qin Wentian, it would be their honor. It was only logical that Qin Wentian didn't want to meet with him. They all understood that this was very normal. It was like if a supreme character whom they didn't know came to pay a visit to them, would they meet with him? They wouldn't meet with him either. They also understood that their statuses weren't high enough. Hence, they came together, hoping to be able to see the glory of this successor of the Time King. If they could become familiar with him, in the future when Qin Wentian became a character like the Sword Monarch, they could say that they were acquainted with heavenly deities. How glorious would that be? Sadly, even though they came together, Qin Wentian still didn't meet with them. Senior Qingqing Realm Lord displayed his magnificence in the convention, killing a hegemonic-level world overlord with a single battle. Who in the Mystic region doesn't know of you? It's truly a pity that we weren't able to meet with Senior. However, it's still an honor to be able to see the glory of Senior's city. A world overlord slowly spoke. The people in the surroundings felt that their hearts couldn't take it anymore. Arrogance? Arrogance? They were thinking too much. This seemed to be a matter of course. Those world overlords who were rejected all felt this way. The Qingqing Realm Lord killed a hegemonic-level world overlord with a single battle. Who in the Mystic region didn't know of him? What sort of evaluation was this? They felt that their brains weren't enough. They really wanted to know what sort of commotion their world overlord caused in the convention exactly. In the future, if Senior ascends to the heavenly divinity realm, becoming a divinity beneath all living beings, this Qingqing Realm Lord would also become a sacred ground for the gods. Now that we are here, we should take a good look around. Another world overlord spoke, wanting to bootlick, but his words weren't exaggerated. Qin Wentian had indeed displayed the potential of a heavenly deity. Just as they were speaking, more experts arrived from afar. A group of people arrived, and when they saw the situation here, the person in the lead silently sighed in his heart. Was this his current status? Many world overlords have already personally come to pay their respects to him. He stood on the ground and clasped his hands in the direction of the Qingqing Saint Hall. Realm Lord of the Heavenly Talisman Realm is here to beg for forgiveness. I hope that you can punish me for my disrespect in the past. There was a young man beside him. This young man was none other than the person who came to cause trouble and humiliate Qin Wenyan back then during the banquet in the Qingqing Saint Hall. He lowered his head and spoke in the direction of the Qingqing Saint Hall. Junior dared to offend Senior back then and specially came here to beg for forgiveness. Senior, please punish me accordingly. Some of the people who attended the banquet in the Qingqing Saint Hall all knew about this matter. Right now, a world overlord from the Heavenly Talisman realm personally came to the Qingqing Saint Hall to beg for forgiveness. As for that young man who spoke arrogantly back then, he lowered his voice and didn't even dare to lift his head. What did this mean? This meant that the current Qingqing realm lord could easily crush them to death. Hence, they didn't dare to not come. It was true that the Heavenly Talisman realm lord didn't dare to not come. Although he and Qin Wenyan once shared the status of an apostle, how would he dare to bring that up? Right now, he felt some regret. He didn't expect that such a character would actually appear in the Azure Mystic realm, and this character was even his personal disciple. But after that, he actually offended Qin Wenyan, standing on the opposite side and even mocking him during the banquet. How could he not be afraid of Qin Wenyan taking revenge? After the incident in the Dragon Pool Manor, he immediately left the Time Realm and returned. The first thing he did was to come to the Qingqing Saint Hall to beg for forgiveness. If Qin Wenyan bore a grudge and personally came to visit him, the consequences would be unimaginable. You still have the face to come? A voice drifted over. Jun Mengchen soared through the air, exuding the might of a powerful world overlord. The Heavenly Talisman realm lord sighed in his heart. This man was once a disciple of his Heavenly Talisman realm and could be considered his disciple. However, Jun Mengchen and his senior apprentice brother were once imprisoned by the Heavenly Talisman realm. I naturally know my mistake and came here to beg for forgiveness. The realm lord felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart, but he had no choice but to lower his head. Senior brother, how should we deal with him? Qin Wenyan glanced in the direction of the Qingqing Saint Hall as he asked. Do what you want to do. Qin Wenyan spoke. Jun Mengchen was the victim back then. If it wasn't for Jun Mengchen and Bai Wuya being imprisoned by the Heavenly Talisman realm, Qin Wenyan wouldn't have hated the Heavenly Talisman realm so much. At most, they wouldn't have any dealings with each other. Jun Mengchen clenched his fists. He stared at the realm lord and spoke, although I want nothing more than to kill you with a single punch, it's still a matter of fate. My senior brother and I got to know each other because of you, that's why I have such a senior brother. There are also 2 other senior brothers who treated me like a father. Sadly, you personally destroyed this fate. Scram, I don't want to see you ever again. He was ultimately soft-hearted. Other than Qin Wenyan, he and his senior apprentice brother, as well as Bai Wuya, were acquainted because of the Heavenly Talisman realm. That experience had a great impact on him, even affecting his entire life. Hence, he still decided to spare the realm lord. Many thanks. The realm lord clasped his hands and left with his tail between his legs. Not being punished was already the best ending for him. However, Jun Mengchen's words caused him to feel pain in his heart. Indeed, he personally destroyed this fate. If not, before Qin Wenyan had a heavenly deity as his teacher, he would still have a teacher. If that was the case, he would be able to form a good relationship with the Tiandao Sacred Academy. All of you can leave now. I encountered many things in the convention. Now, I only wish for some peace and quiet. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. Yes, senior. The world overlords outside bowed and departed respectively. The spectators stared in the direction of the Qingqing Saint Hall. They were still reluctant to leave. The people from the Jialan clan and Xinyuan clan felt their hearts shaking. Was this the status of their realm lord today? In the entire mystic region, who wouldn't know of him? Chapter 1812. The Great Hall of the Daoask Lodge was extremely spacious and there were many seats for people to receive guests. When Qin Wenyan and his group entered, an extremely beautiful serving girl welcomed them. Her gaze instantly landed on Qin Wenyan, who was in the lead, as she asked, "Sir, may I know how to address you?" With regards to all of this, Qin Wenyan had no idea at all. Although he was like the sun in the midday sky in the Qingqing realm, his name even shook the entire mystic region. He was actually enjoying his quiet time here, accompanying beautiful women and not forgetting his cultivation. Maybe the people around him were stimulated by him as more and more people broke through to the world overlord realm. This was especially so for those who received guidance from heavenly deities. Almost all of them had already broken through to the world overlord realm. At this moment, Qin Wendian and his group arrived at the Daoist Lodge. Firstly, it was more convenient as it was very close to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Secondly, it was safe. The background of this Daoist Lodge was extremely extraordinary. If they stayed here, there would definitely be no one who would dare to cause trouble here. Senior, I've already arrived at Daoist City. I will enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy tomorrow. Qin Wenyan took out his messaging crystal and spoke to that major character. A moment later, as expected, the serving girl who received Qin Wenyan came over. She spoke to Qin Wenyan. Sir Qin, I'm very sorry, I will send someone to fetch you tomorrow. That major character spoke. Their world overlord had actually already reached such a height, directly facing off against the Ziwei Divine Court, a hegemon of the mystic region. Under the pressure of the Ziwei Divine Court, he killed the Dragon Pool Manor Lord and even humiliated a heavenly deity disciple of the Ziwei Divine Court. Everything seemed to be very, very far away from them, but that existence was right before their eyes. There's still a space on the third level. I will stay there then. Qin Wendian smiled. There were pavilions and terraces in the courtyard, with lush greenery everywhere. The environment was truly beautiful and there were many individual courtyards. If one walked to the front of the courtyard, they would be able to see the majestic Sacred Academy from above, as well as view the bustling streets of Daoist City from below. Alright, how long does young Master Qin plan on staying? The maid asked. Naturally, other than those who were breaking through, Qinger and Imo Qingqing would definitely follow along. This time around, Yi Qinyu was also brought along. During the convention of the Myriad Realms, he only brought Qingqing and Qinger along. This time around, if he didn't bring Yi Qinyu along, his harem would surely be in chaos. The location of the Daoist Lodge was located not far away from the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The streets here were also the most flourishing in the entire Daoist city. It was the absolute center of the Daoist city and there were even more people and experts here. The experts in this majestic city were as many as the clouds, far from what Qingqing City could compare to. Daoist City, where the Tiandao Sacred Academy was located, was extremely loyal in the mystic region. In addition to the status of the Sacred Academy, one could very well imagine how prosperous this city was. Many world overlords would come to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to seek the Tao. However, if one wasn't fated, the Tiandao Sacred Academy wouldn't casually impart the Tao. Such a situation wasn't rare in Daoist City. There were many powerful clans and powers in the mystic region and there would often be geniuses from the younger generations coming here to seek the Tao. Naturally, there were also experts from the older generations who came here to seek the Tao, regardless of age. The voices of the conversation weren't loud, but how could it be hidden from him? He frowned. So it turned out that these people wanted the remaining courtyards on the third level. Also, their statuses seemed to be extraordinary. My surname is Qin. Qin Wendian smiled. Finally, today, he was preparing to set off for the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The Qingqing realm was incomparably stable. Who would still dare to cause trouble here? Right now, his only goal was to become stronger than ever before. He didn't forget the meeting with his uncle. He didn't forget his destined opponent. He didn't forget his destined enemy, Heaven's son Qin Dangtian, as well as his irreconcilable enemy, Qin Zheng. Many thanks, Sir Qin. The serving girl sincerely thanked. Being able to afford to stay on the third level for a month, clearly, his status wouldn't be ordinary. Since he was so easygoing, it was naturally a concession. How could she not be grateful? Temporarily, I'll stay for a month. Qin Wendian replied. He would temporarily settle everyone down first before heading to the Tiandao Sacred Academy alone. It was impossible for him to bring everyone to the Tiandao Sacred Academy the moment he arrived. Back then, although the seniors of the Tiandao Sacred Academy invited him, They didn't invite him to bring his friends and family along. If he did that, maybe the Tiandao Sacred Academy would still accept him, but it would still be somewhat disrespectful. It was better for him to scout the situation in the Tiandao Sacred Academy first. This time around, Qin Wenyan didn't come alone. Many others who broke through to the World Overlord realm also followed him. He wondered if they could temper themselves in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. If they couldn't, he would let them stay in Daoask City. If not, he didn't know how long this cultivation session would take. It was impossible for him to leave everyone in the Qingqing realm. Although the experts in Daoask City were as common as the clouds, Qin Wenyan and his group still attracted a lot of attention when they walked in the city. This group of people was simply too dazzling. The young man in the lead was extraordinarily handsome and radiated vigor. His entire person exuded an extraordinary aura, and it was very possible that his cultivation base was extremely high. The people around him all exuded an imposing aura of supremacy. Other than this, there were also several beautiful women. Upon seeing them, many people instantly thought of the young masters and young ladies of the major powers who came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to seek the Tao. After waiting for a while, the serving girl still didn't come over. She seemed to be conversing with a group of people in another direction. In that direction, there was also a group of guests. There were over 10 of them, and all of them exuded extraordinary auras. This was especially so for the man and woman in the lead. From a single glance, one could tell that they were disciples from aristocratic clans. Their gazes were also cast in the direction of Qin Wenyan. "Good, where are you now?" A voice rang out in his mind. "I'm staying in the Daoask Lodge. My family members came with me as well. I arranged for them to stay here." Qin Wenyan replied. Qin Wenyan's achievements in the convention of the myriad realms gradually circulated around the Qingqing realm, causing countless people to be shocked. The serving girl spoke a few words and left. After that, she helped Qin Wenyan settle everything before leading Qin Wenyan and the others to the Daoask Lodge, arriving at a courtyard on the 4th level. Qin Wenyan saw Qinger, Little Rascal, and Bai Qing becoming world overlords one after another. He naturally felt extremely happy in his heart. The people of the Jialan clan discovered that there was no need for the future. Just right now, Qin Wenyan had already become a legend of the Qingqing realm. In this place where they lived, who would have thought that such a character would appear? In addition, this character was none other than the Qingqing realm lord. Qin Wenyan smiled. Actually, the income from the mines in the Qingqing realm was truly insignificant. After all, even if you mined for tens or hundreds of years, you might not even earn as much as selling a few treasures in a place like the Heaven Immortal Tower. How could he compare? After all, his wealth came from robbing the Heaven Immortal Tower. This time around, his family and friends were all around him. He naturally couldn't let the environment of the Daoask Lodge be too bad. Back then, Qin Wenyan came to Daoask City because he wanted to visit the Tiandao Sacred Academy and return to Azure Mystic. This time around, things were clearly different. After the group of them arrived at Daoask City, they casually strolled around the city, enjoying the scenery here. "Got it. Let's go to the 4th level then." Qin Wenyan casually spoke. Before this serving girl also helped him to fight for the 4th level. However, her status wasn't high and she didn't have much authority to speak. Qin Wenyan naturally wouldn't make things difficult for her. At his current cultivation realm, there was no need for him to care too much about such minor matters. Before this, they still felt that Qin Wenyan wasn't willing to meet with world overlords because of how arrogant Qin Wenyan was. But after knowing the truth, they finally understood the status of their Qingqing realm lord today. Let alone ordinary world overlords, even hegemonic level world overlords would have to pay their respects. This was an existence that had killed a hegemonic level world overlord before, and he even had a heavenly deity as his master. The higher one went, the more majestic and expensive the buildings were. It was rumored that the highest level of the Daoask Lodge wasn't open to the public. Only those with extremely high statuses or those who were friends of the boss of the Daoask Lodge would have the qualifications to stay there. Daoask City, this was the second time Qin Wenyan came to this majestic city. This city was built with the Tiandao Sacred Academy as the center and was always so prosperous. The sacred ground Tiandao Sacred Academy was a place where countless people in the mystic region yearned to go to, a place of pilgrimage. After all, in a situation where one's talent wasn't weak, after experiencing the tempering in the various secret realms in the ancient battlefield and having the guidance of heavenly deities, in addition to the insights gained from the convention of the myriad realms, breaking through to the world overlord realm wouldn't be a difficult thing. There's no need for senior, I will head there myself. Qin Wendian replied. How could he have the face to let the Tiandao Sacred Academy personally come to welcome him? Wasn't this a little too overbearing? After all, he was someone who came here to seek the Tao. Naturally, the price was extremely high as well. Being able to stay in the Taoist Lodge was a symbol of one's status. Ordinary world overlords would only be able to stay here occasionally for a day or two. If they wanted to stay here for a long period of time, even ordinary world overlords wouldn't be able to afford it. Okay, I will arrange it for you. The attitude of the serving girl was extremely good, her smile was extremely amiable. After she left, Jun Mingchen, who was at the side, involuntarily sighed. The service is really good. However, the price is too terrifying. Senior brother, you are truly wealthy. If you stayed in the courtyard at the highest peak of the Taoist Lodge, as long as you stood in the courtyard, you would be able to see the incomparably majestic Sacred Academy in the sky. The height of the Tiandao Sacred Academy was the same as the flight of stairs leading up to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The courtyard at the highest peak was named the Equal Heaven Lodge. The largest inn in Taoist City was none other than the Taoist Lodge. This place used to be an ancient mountain, but after that, the entire mountain was transformed into the Taoist Lodge. Majestic buildings could be seen everywhere, and the palaces were built from white jade, containing powerful astral energy from the heavens and earth. Faintly, one could clearly sense the great Tao of astral energy. Tiandao's Sacred Academy. At this moment, Qin Wenyan stood in front of a courtyard, staring at the majestic Sacred Academy. This time around, he didn't know what good fortune he would encounter in this trip to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. He hoped that his strength would be able to improve by another step. Sir Qin, everyone, please take a seat. The serving girl led Qin Wendian and the others to a seat. After that, she took out an item and passed it to Qin Wendian. This is the location of the remaining courtyards as well as the price list. Sir Qin, please take a look. The commotion in the Qingqing realm lasted for a very long time. The atmosphere of the martial path was even more intense than before. Many young experts were determined to cultivate, taking their world overlords as their idols. They hoped that one day they would be able to participate in the convention of the myriad realms and take a look at those peak powers in the mystic region. Chapter 1813. Under the night sky, the Taoist Lodge was extremely bustling. In the central region of Taoist City, there was a lake not far away from the Taoist Lodge. This lake was also one of the properties of the Taoist Lodge. With the island in the center, there were many pavilions on the lake, and each of them were filled with guests who were currently enjoying a banquet. The guests of the Taoist Lodge could enjoy immortal banquets here for free. On the island in the center of the lake, there was a group of white-robed maidens dancing gracefully. Their graceful movements caused people to sigh in admiration. The countenances of these maidens were also breathtakingly beautiful. Qianyu, these maidens aren't inferior to the Red Dust Immortal Palace at all. In fact, they are even more outstanding. At a pavilion in the center of the lake, Qin Wenyan spoke to Yi Qianyu, who was beside him. That's true. Spending such a huge price to stay in the Taoist Lodge, we naturally have to let you guys feel that it's worth the price. Didn't you see that other than the guests of the Taoist Lodge, outsiders who want to enjoy the dance on the lake or in the pavilions also have to pay a sky-high price? Yi Qianyu smiled. That's true. Qin Wendian nodded. Although this was the case, there were still many people enjoying the banquets on the lake or in the pavilions. Maybe, these were people who originally resided in Taoist City. It wasn't that they couldn't afford to stay in the Taoist Lodge, it was just that there was no need for them to do so. But to them, it was extremely normal for them to occasionally come here to enjoy the beautiful scenery. Is their dance more beautiful or is my dance more beautiful? Yi Qinyu transmitted her voice to Qin Wenyan. Her beautiful eyes flickered with a soul-stirring intent, causing Qin Wentian's heart to race. He shook his head and smiled. How can they be compared to you? Yi Qinyu smiled sweetly, as though she was very satisfied. After the dance ended, many people applauded. In fact, there was even a guest in a pavilion who wasn't stingy with his praise. Watching Violet Jade Fairies dance, I feel like I'm in an immortal realm, forgetting the passage of time. Surprises me too much. The most outstanding woman on the island bowed slightly and spoke with a faint smile. Her name was Zi Yao, and she was known as the Violet Jade Fairy. Not only was she extremely beautiful, her talent in cultivation was extremely outstanding as well. Now that she had already stepped into the extraordinary realm, she still stood out amongst the group of beauties. From this, one could see how beautiful she was. Words are not enough to praise Fairy's wonderful dance. Today, the pavilion on the lake is filled with distinguished guests. Fairy, do you have anything interesting to share with everyone? That young man smiled. Not only was this Violet Jade Fairy's dancing skills outstanding, she was also extremely well-informed and knew about the major events in the Mystic region. Naturally, this might also be because she had the support of the Daoask Lodge. Whenever the Violet Jade Fairy appeared, she would definitely share an interesting event in the Mystic region with everyone. Today, I want to talk to everyone about the Heavenly Dao rankings. Right now, there's a change and someone has been replaced. I wonder if everyone knows of this? The Violet Jade Fairy smiled. It's extremely rare for the Heavenly Dao rankings to be changed. Now that there's actually a change, who was replaced? Everyone's interest was instantly piqued. Someone asked. In the original Heavenly Dao rankings, there were 2 disciples from the Ziwei Divine Court, 2 disciples from the Heavenly Dao Great Devil Divine Palace, 1 disciple from the Heavenly Deity Mountain, and 3 from the Tiandao Sacred Academy. As for the last 2, they didn't cultivate in any of the major powers. I'm sure everyone is very clear about this point and should also know who they are. The person who was replaced is none other than one of the last 2. The Violet Jade Fairy smiled sweetly. Also, the person who was replaced this time around is the youngest out of all the participants. If everyone thinks about it carefully, you should be able to guess who he is. The eyes of many people gleamed with sharpness. The Heavenly Dao rankings was a ranking established by the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The so-called Heavenly Dao was something unreachable. There were 10 people on the Heavenly Dao rankings. There was no age restriction for these 10, but they were all people from the Mystic region. They were the characters that the Tiandao Sacred Academy felt had the highest possibility of inheriting the Heavenly Dao and becoming the next heavenly deity of the Mystic region. From this, one could very well imagine the status of this ranking. In other words, from a certain perspective, this was the Heavenly Dao rankings with the highest potential. As long as one was on the Heavenly Dao rankings, they would be considered to have a chance to become a deity in the future, stepping into that supreme realm. There was no age restriction for the people on the Heavenly Dao rankings and there was no requirement for strength. For example, there were some people on the Heavenly Dao rankings who weren't too strong in the World Overlord realm. There might be many people in the Mystic region who could defeat them, but their names were still on the Heavenly Dao rankings because they had the potential to become a heavenly deity. For those stronger than them, they didn't have such potential. Naturally, in theory, there was no requirement for strength. But in reality, the people on the Heavenly Dao rankings were all world overlords and none of them had the potential to become world overlords. Who said that you had the potential to become a heavenly deity? However, for some of the younger generations, when they stepped into the world overlord realm, they would display sufficient heaven-defying talent and they would have a chance to replace the people on the Heavenly Dao rankings. Just like this time around, someone on the Heavenly Dao rankings was replaced. I think I should know who the Violet Jade Fairy is talking about. I didn't expect that the Tiandao Sacred Academy would have already engraved his name on the Heavenly Dao rankings so quickly. Someone spoke, feeling shock in his heart. The person the Violet Jade Fairy is talking about should be the rumored successor of the Time King who is participating in the convention this time around, right? Another person spoke. After that, The eyes of everyone flashed as they thought of a certain person. Recently, the fame of this person was like the sun in the sky in the central regions of the mystic region. There would often be people mentioning him. The successor of the Time King, killing a hegemonic level character in a single battle and cultivating for less than 1,000 years. This resplendent rising star instantly gained a place in the mystic region and was known by everyone. Naturally, the reason why his fame spread so quickly was because of the Ziwei Divine Court and Yu Changkong. This story was simply too dramatic. A disciple of the Sun Moon Sacred Mountain, Yu Changkong, actually impersonated the identity of the Time King's successor and entered the Ziwei Divine Court, even becoming a heavenly deity's disciple. From this, one could very well imagine how many people paid attention to this matter. In addition, the Time King and the Tiandao Sacred Academy were also related to this matter. Qin Wenyin, who was currently smiling and chatting with the people around him, suddenly started. The gazes of the people around him also froze before they smiled at Qin Wenyin. Right now, Qin Wenyin was actually so famous? Not only did world overlords come to the Qingqing realm to pay a visit, he was also mentioned by many people outside the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Also, he was ranked on the extremely impressive Heavenly Dao rankings. Qin Wenyin bitterly smiled. He knew nothing about the Heavenly Dao rankings at all. He didn't expect that he would be ranked on it for no reason at all and was even talked about by others. Young masters, all of you are truly intelligent. Indeed, I received news that the Qingqing Realm Lord will be coming to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to cultivate. And at the instant he enters the Tiandao Sacred Academy, the Heavenly Dao rankings would be changed and the name of the Qingqing Realm Lord would be ranked there. The Violet Jade Fairy smiled. If it's him, it's only logical. Being able to obtain the recognition of the Time King, this already proves his talent. In addition, he has cultivated for less than 1,000 years and already killed the Dragon Pool Manor Lord. It's only normal for him to be ranked on the Heavenly Dao rankings. Someone nodded. Many people here were extraordinary characters and naturally had their own outstanding aspects. The Qingqing Realm Lord's fame wouldn't be undeserved. If not, the Tiandao Sacred Academy wouldn't have given him the recognition of a heavenly deity as his teacher. This is interesting. Since the Qingqing Realm Lord is entering the Tiandao Sacred Academy, wouldn't that mean that the Tiandao Sacred Academy will occupy 4 of the top 10 rankers on the Heavenly Dao rankings in the future? 10 years ago, that supreme character who came down from the Sword Saint Mountain and entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation, I wonder who is more outstanding compared to this Qingqing Realm Lord. Someone laughed. In a pavilion, when they heard someone mentioning the person who came down from the Sword Saint Mountain, their eyes all flashed with sharpness. The eyes of the young man in the lead gleamed with sharpness, containing a resplendent sword intent. In the dark of the night, the light he released was even more dazzling compared to the moonlight. How long has the Qingqing Realm Lord been famous for? How can you compare him to the descendant of the Sword God? Don't forget how he rose to his current fame step by step. Qingqing Realm Lord, it's just a single battle. Is he even worthy of being mentioned in the same breath? The young man spoke, his tone filled with unwillingness. As the sound of his voice faded, the gazes of many turned over. Qin Wentian's group also turned over as a strange look appeared on their faces. So it turned out that the person who spoke was actually the person who snatched the courtyard on the 3rd level of the Daoist Lodge from Qin Wenyin. His battle achievements are simply too glorious. He challenged so many world overlords and wasn't defeated once. Even some extremely famous hegemonic level characters were defeated by him. Geniuses are always lonely. In the end, he chose to enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy and pursue the Heavenly Dao. Someone sighed. Every name that could be ranked on the Heavenly Dao rankings represented a legend. The Qingqing Realm Lord was one of them, the others were naturally the same as well. That young man came from the Sword Saint Mountain and was a descendant of the Sword God. The people around Qin Wenyin were all unhappy when they heard this. Jun Mengchen glanced at the young man and spoke unhappily. The strength of one's talent, the size of one's fame, could it be that this is based on the number of battles one has to fight? I'm really curious. That descendant of the Sword God, within 1,000 years, Did he have the same battle achievements as the Qingqing Realm Lord and killed hegemonic-level characters? The eyes of the young man gleamed with a soul-stirring light as he stared at Jun Mingchen. He then spoke. Although the Convention of the Myriad Realms is said to be a peak-level event in the Mystic region, the vast majority of the participants are world overlords from various realms as well as world overlords from the vassal powers of the three hegemonic powers. As for those truly famous world overlords like the 10 rankers on the Heavenly Dao rankings, not a single one of them is here because they have the confidence to do so. They basically don't need the recognition of the three hegemonic powers, or they are already the most outstanding disciples of the three hegemonic powers. The descendant of the sword god you spoke of, if he participated in the Convention of the Myriad Realms, the Qingqing Realm Lord would have nothing to do with him. The words of the young man weren't wrong. Although the Convention of the Myriad Realms was a peak-level event in the Mystic region, it was impossible for all the world overlords of the Mystic region to be here. There were simply too many people who haven't participated yet. Or maybe, they had already participated 10,000 years ago and didn't attend again. Jun Mingchen still wanted to refute, but he heard the Violet Jade Fairy laughing. "Sir, let's not argue for now. Today, we are talking about the Heavenly Dao rankings." In truth, Violet Jade still has something to tell everyone. On the Sword Saint Mountain, other than the descendant of the Sword God who is ranked on the Heavenly Dao rankings, another descendant of the Sword God has arrived here and is about to enter the Tiandao's Sacred Academy for cultivation. As for him, he is currently staying in the Daoask Lodge. As the sound of the Violet Jade Fairy's voice faded, the eyes of everyone gleamed sharply. In an instant, many people turned their gazes to the young man who spoke earlier as they faintly guessed at something. And as expected, the eyes of the young man gleamed with dazzling sword light, akin to a supreme sword. His sharp gaze was filled with pride. Chapter 1814. At this moment, the Violet Jade Fairy appeared in the Great Hall and smiled. "Is everyone here to welcome someone?" As expected, the people from Tiandao's Sacred Academy really arrived. A group of people exuded extraordinary auras, and there were several world overlords among them. All of them exuded transcendent auras and came to the Daoask Lodge. Someone from the Daoask Lodge immediately went up to greet them. "Seniors, are you all from the Sacred Academy? Jian Chen's talent is extremely dazzling." Someone said that if the top 10 rankers on the Heavenly Dao rankings were to be ranked, regardless of talent or strength, he would definitely be ranked in the top 5. "Since you are Jian Chen's nephew, I'm sure your talent is also outstanding. I didn't expect that the two heroes of the Sword Saint Mountain would both come to Tiandao's Sacred Academy to seek Dao." Qin Wenyin truly couldn't be bothered to argue. Along the way until today, he had suffered many doubts. Now that his name shook the entire Mystic region, it was an accident and not something he wanted. As for competing based on talent, there was no meaning at all. In fact, one could even say that it was very boring. Only one's own strength was the foundation of everything. And a person smiled and nodded. The many serving girls all went up to welcome them, but one of them waved her hand. "There's no need to be so polite, we will leave very soon." Not? The female's gaze froze. Jian Wuxian's footsteps also halted. The people in the Daoask Lodge all had a strange look on their faces. Was there a mistake? As to why they came to the Heavenly Dao Sacred Academy to cultivate and not because they wanted to join the Ziwei Divine Court or the Heavenly Deity Mountain, it was because once they joined the Ziwei Divine Court or the Heavenly Deity Mountain, they would belong to those hegemonic powers. Their glory would belong to the Ziwei Divine Court. Heavenly Deity Mountain, everyone would first think that you are a heavenly deity from the Ziwei Divine Court. Only then would they think that you are from the Sword Saint Mountain. "Many thanks." Jian Wuxian smiled. The arrogance on his face grew even more apparent as he walked towards the experts from Tiandao's Sacred Academy. His younger sister walked up first. "Many thanks, seniors, for coming to welcome my elder brother." As a descendant of the Sword God, she naturally had her pride. The Violet Fairy smiled and glanced at Qin Wentian's side. She seemed to be a little interested. However, today's limelight still belonged to Jian Wuxian. Many people came to talk to him, wanting to make friends with him. Qin went in and the others chatted for a while and then left, returning to the courtyard to rest. At this moment, at the stairway, many people walked over. The person in the middle was surrounded by the crowd, exuding a majestic aura. This person was none other than Jian Wuxian and his group. The people in the surroundings were all experts who came to pay a visit today. Many of them were guests who drank wine at the pavilion in the middle of the lake yesterday and wanted to befriend Jian Wuxian. Upon seeing the arrival of the experts from the Sacred Academy, someone laughed. Jian Wuxian seems to have heaven-defying talent. I've never seen such treatment before. The people from Tiandao Sacred Academy personally came to welcome you. Such treatment seems like your talent must be extraordinary. Someone sighed. If not, even if Jian Chen's status in Tiandao Sacred Academy was extraordinary, it wouldn't be good for them to directly send people to welcome Jian Wuxian unless Jian Wuxian's talent was extremely high. If not, if Jian Chen invited an ordinary person to the Sacred Academy for cultivation, wouldn't it be the same as slapping his own face? You think that after participating in the convention of the myriad realms, you already know the geniuses of the world. But you don't know that you are merely a frog at the bottom of a well, unable to see the vastness of the heavens and earth. Jian Wuxian replied as he drank his wine. It was like he couldn't be bothered to get angry with Jun Mingchen because of his status. A descendant of the Sword God naturally had the bearing of a descendant of the Sword God. Brother Jian, since you are already here, you must have already obtained the recognition of Tiandao Sacred Academy, right? Someone asked. That's right. The experts from Tiandao Sacred Academy nodded. They were indeed here to welcome someone. The eyes of the people in the surroundings all gleamed with sharpness. As expected, there were actually several world overlords who came to welcome them. Was this really something Jian Chen's strength could accomplish? Yes, Jian Chen is my uncle and this is my elder brother, Jian Wuxian. Weren't you guys sent by my uncle to welcome him? The girl spoke. The disciples from the Sword Saint Mountain all had supreme sword arts. Their world hearts and heaven heart mandates were all based on the origin energy of swords. Their combat prowess was extremely powerful. Little miss, how can we not know what we are here for? That world overlord smiled. At this moment, another two people walked in. They were both at the Empyrean realm and when they saw the people from Tiandao Sacred Academy, they immediately bowed. We pay our respects to seniors. The world overlords exchanged mutual glances before they smiled. So it's people from the Sword Saint Mountain. This time, we have to properly cultivate after entering the Tiandao Sacred Academy. However, we weren't sent by Jian Chen and we aren't here to welcome your elder brother. Given Brother Qin's talent, this is something that should be done. Senior has instructed us again and again. A world overlord laughed. Upon hearing his words, everyone naturally understood who they were here to welcome. The people from the Sword Saint Mountain all had awkward expressions on their faces. This was especially so for these people. They had a verbal conflict with them yesterday, mocking them for being frogs at the bottom of a well. The beautiful eyes of the Violet Jade Fairy also flashed with suspicion. There shouldn't be a mistake, right? The people from Tiandao Sacred Academy had also admitted that they were here to welcome someone. How would we dare to trouble Brother Qin to come here? Qin Wendian clasped his hands. Hence, today, many people gathered in the Daoask Lodge. Regardless of guests or people from major powers, there were some in the Great Hall of the Daoask Lodge while others waited outside, wanting to see if the people from Tiandao Sacred Academy were here to welcome Jian Wuxian. Blowing your own trumpet. A mocking voice drifted over. The expressions of everyone froze as they stared at the person who spoke. It was none other than Jun Mingchen. After knowing the identity of Jian Wuxian's group, he actually still dared to mock them? Seems like this group of people weren't ordinary characters and might be from a peak power. On the second morning, the news that Jian Wuxian, the descendant of the Sword God, was staying in the Daoask Lodge and was about to head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation soon circulated. Many people went to pay a visit, wanting to get to know Jian Wuxian. Among them, there were also some major powers from Daoask City. According to Jian Wuxian's younger sister, Jian Chen seemed to be sending people to welcome Jian Wuxian into the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation today. Such treatment was truly extraordinary. From this, one could see that Jian Wuxian's talent was extraordinary. It was just that he had yet to display his brilliance in the mystic region. On the Heavenly Dao rankings, there was a person named Jian Chen. His sword had defeated many world overlords and even killed hegemonic-level experts. The Sword Saint Mountain has waited for countless years and finally, a person with the potential to become a heavenly deity has appeared. He would be the hope of the Sword Saint Mountain's revival. Although I've never met Jian Chen before, from your words and actions, you guys aren't even famous yet your tone is already so arrogant, disregarding the talent of others and belittling others to elevate yourself. From this, one can see that your temperament isn't good enough. Before this, you guys forcefully wanted us to enter the Heavenly Dao Lodge. From this, I can also see this point. Jun Mengchen sarcastically spoke. As for the talent you guys are bragging about, we will see for ourselves when we enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy. I've participated in the convention this time around and naturally know what sort of character the Qingqing Realm Lord is. In the future, when he and Jian Chen cultivate together in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, you guys will naturally understand who is more outstanding. Because, although the Ziwei Divine Court and the other two hegemonic powers were hegemonic powers of the mystic region, in truth, there were even more people with extraordinary talent who were more willing to come to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to seek the Dao. Naturally, my uncle has already said that tomorrow he will personally send people from the Tiandao Sacred Academy to welcome my elder brother into the Sacred Academy. A beautiful young girl at the side spoke. She was Jian Wuxian's younger sister. The world overlord of the Tiandao Sacred Academy glanced at this young girl. After that, his gaze landed on Jian Wuxian as he asked with some bewilderment, "Is your elder brother him?" Jian Wuxian's expression also turned awkward. His younger sister then glanced at the world overlord of the Tiandao Sacred Academy and asked, "In that case, who are you guys here to welcome?" "Young Master Jian, after you head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy, you can set your family at ease. I will naturally arrange for them to stay in the second level of the Daoask Lodge." A person with some status in the Daoask Lodge smiled. Yesterday, it was none other than him who helped to arrange for Jian Wuxian, who arrived later than Qin Wenyan, to stay in the third level. Qin Wenyan had a bitter smile on his face when he saw the people who came. He had met these people before. They were none other than the world overlords of the Tiandao Sacred Academy who participated in the convention of the Myriad Realms. However, they didn't interact much back then. He didn't expect that the world overlord would still send people to welcome Jian Chen. This caused him to feel somewhat overwhelmed by the favor. Although Jian Chen's talent was outstanding and was ranked on the Heavenly Dao rankings, he was ultimately still a cultivator seeking the Dao. Sending out such a lineup could only mean that the person they wanted to welcome had extraordinary talent. "So it's people from the Sword Saint Mountain. Sorry for the disrespect." Someone clasped his hands to the young man. Another person asked, "I wonder what is your relationship with Jian Chen?" At this moment, the young man sitting in the pavilion was named Jian Wuxian. He was none other than the genius from the Sword Saint Mountain mentioned by the Violeted Fairy, a descendant of the Sword God. "So it's you guys." The world overlord of the Tiandao Sacred Academy instantly understood when he saw the two of them. He then spoke to Jian Wuxian and the others. "These are the people who cultivated together with Jian Chen in his courtyard. I believe the people you guys are waiting for are them." The Sword Saint Mountain was an extremely ancient hegemonic power in the mystic region. There was a heavenly deity from the ancient era who was conferred the title of Sword God. Did another supreme genius appear in the Sword Saint Mountain? If this was the case, could it be that the Sword Saint Mountain was going to be revived? The Tiandao Sacred Academy was different. Even if he was conferred the title of God in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, he was still a heavenly deity of the Sword Saint Mountain. Everyone would only sigh in admiration at the ability of the Tiandao Sacred Academy to transmit the Dao. This was the difference between the Tiandao Sacred Academy and the Ziwei Divine Court. Senior Jian Chen told us to come and welcome Sir Jian Wuxian. The two of them stared at the group of people ahead. After a moment, Jian Wuxian's younger sister felt somewhat awkward. If there wasn't such a blunder earlier, things would still be fine. There would still be people coming to welcome Jian Wuxian. But now, they mistakenly thought that the world overlords were here to welcome them. Jian Junlai was conferred the title of Sword Monarch and not Sword God because there was already a Sword God in the Mystic region before. That world overlord wanted to reply, but at this moment, a group of people walked over. They turned their gazes over and smiled when they saw the group of people who came. They then called out, "Brother Qin?" They managed the Daoist Lodge, and at the same time, they could form connections and form good karma. This was the method of the Daoist Lodge. "Are you guys sure?" Jian Wuxian's younger sister asked again. "Mingchen." Qin Wenyan smiled at Jun Mingchen and shook his head, raising his cup to him. Jun Mingchen initially wanted to say something, but when he saw Qin Wentian's nonchalant expression, the anger in his heart also dissipated. That's right, why would he lower himself to his level? What's the point of arguing with words? He would know in the future. His senior brother was more magnanimous, giving up his courtyard. Right now, he couldn't be bothered to argue with Qin Wenyan. "That's my uncle." Jian Wuxian calmly spoke, his sharp eyes gleaming with arrogance. It was like the name Jianchen was a glory to him. He was his biological uncle. Indeed, it's extremely rare for the Tiandao Sacred Academy to welcome world overlords into the Sacred Academy. Chapter 1815. The people in the Daoist Lodge all had strange looks in their eyes. Those people who were clustered around Jian Wuxian also felt that something was strange. Many of them had experienced the incident at the pavilion in the lake yesterday. After the Violet Jade Fairy informed them of Jian Wuxian's identity, many people went to befriend him. As for Qin Wenyan and his group, although they seemed extraordinary, no one showed any interest in them. However, today the experts from the Tiandao Sacred Academy personally came to welcome them. The person who came to welcome them wasn't Jian Wuxian but was Qin Wenyan and his group instead. They could all sense the awkwardness of these people from the Sword Saint Mountain. Even those people who were clustered around Jian Wuxian all felt somewhat comical. How can this be? The beautiful eyes of Jian Wuxian's younger sister flashed with a strange look. She stared at the world overlord of the Tiandao Sacred Academy and asked, "Who is he? Why would the Tiandao Sacred Academy come to welcome him?" The experts from the Tiandao Sacred Academy saw the young woman continuing to ask and also saw the reactions of the people in the Great Hall. They could faintly guess what had happened. So it turned out that these people from the Sword Saint Mountain thought that they were here to welcome them. But when they discovered that this wasn't the case, they actually felt somewhat unhappy. This was truly interesting. "Do we, the Tiandao Sacred Academy, need to report to you for our actions?" A world overlord calmly asked. Although they were from the Sword Saint Mountain and had some relationship with Jianchen, one mustn't forget that Jianchen was here to seek the Tao. Before this, they thought that Jianchen was just casually asking and he had already answered. Yet, this young woman actually continued to ask and her attitude wasn't that friendly. "Sir, please don't blame her. My younger sister doesn't know any etiquette and was merely curious." As a world overlord, Jian Wuxian's reaction was much faster. He immediately went up and apologized. After all, he also wanted to head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation. He didn't want to offend the experts from the Tiandao Sacred Academy before he even entered the Sacred Academy. "Brother Qin." The Violet Jade Fairy who was at the side had a look of contemplation on her face when she thought of how the Realm Lord of the Sacred Academy addressed Qin Wenyan. After that, her beautiful eyes suddenly froze as she thought of the reason for the argument between the two factions last night. It was because of the two geniuses on the Heavenly Tao rankings, the Qingqing Realm Lord and Jianchen. The Qingqing Realm Lord seemed to have the surname Qin. The beautiful eyes of the Violet Jade Fairy stared at Qin Wenyan, feeling somewhat speechless. She didn't expect that the main character was right in front of her and was staying in the Daoist Lodge, yet no one recognized him. Who received Sir Qin? At this moment, the Violet Jade Fairy took a step forward and asked the serving girls in the Great Hall. The serving girl who received Qin Wenyin earlier walked out and replied in a low voice, replying to Violet Jade Fairy, "I was the one who received him." "Which floor is young Master Qin on? How long will he be staying for?" Violet Jade Fairy asked. "The 4th level, a month's time." The serving girl replied, "Go back and ask if there are any guests staying at the top level. If there aren't, see if it's possible to arrange for Sir Qin and his friends to stay there." The Violet Jade Fairy commanded. It seemed like her status in the Daoask Lodge was extraordinary. The serving girl started. The 1st level was prepared for the major characters of the Mystic region. Also, only characters from the peak powers of the Mystic region had the qualifications to stay on the 1st level. Right now, the Violet Jade Fairy actually said that she wanted Qin Wenyin to stay on the top level. "Do as I say." The Violet Jade Fairy spoke. "Yes." The serving girl nodded. Her beautiful eyes cast a deep glance at Qin Wenyin. Seems like this young man whose residence was snatched from the 3rd level was actually an extraordinary character. In addition, it was highly possible that he came from a peak power in the Mystic region. Everyone in the surroundings started. Could it be that the Violet Jade Fairy already knew of the identity of this young man? That attendant of the Daoask Lodge beside Jian Wuxian had a strange look on his face. He seemed to be contemplating the consequences of him helping Qin Wenyin to snatch away Qin Wentian's residence. Although it seemed like a minor matter, if Qin Wenyin was qualified to stay on the 1st level of the Heaven Equal Lodge, this matter would definitely be a major one. "No need, the 4th level is fine. There's no need to trouble yourself." Qin Wenyin glanced at the Violet Jade Fairy. He didn't deserve a reward if he didn't deserve it. Since he paid the price to stay here, he could feel at ease. The way the Daoask Lodge did things was too utilitarian. It was best if he didn't interact too deeply with them. Qingqing Realm Lord is now famous in the Mystic region. How can you feel aggrieved staying in my Daoask Lodge? This is something that should be done. The Violet Jade Fairy smiled, exuding a sense of charm. Qingqing Realm Lord. The gazes of the people in the surroundings froze. So it turned out that this young man was none other than the Qingqing Realm Lord whose name was now famous in the Mystic region. He was a supreme genius who killed the Dragon Pool Manor Lord in a single battle. In addition, he would soon be ranked on the Heavenly Dao rankings, becoming one of the 10 people with the highest potential to become a heavenly deity. The people of the Sword Saint Mountain turned their gazes to Qin Wenyin. He was actually the Qingqing Realm Lord. Before this, the people of the Sword Saint Mountain snatched away Qin Wentian's residence and even said that the Qingqing Realm Lord was inferior to Jian Chen last night. However, the Qingqing Realm Lord didn't even say a single word to them and didn't snatch his residence. The disparity between them was obvious. Although they still firmly believed that the Qingqing Realm Lord was inferior to Jian Chen, at the very least, he was superior to them. If he revealed his identity, would the Daoask Lodge allow his residence to be snatched away? I appreciate Fairy's kind intentions. However, the atmosphere on the 4th level is already extremely good. My family members are all very satisfied. Qin Wenyin smiled and nodded. I will head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation and won't disturb the Daoask Lodge any longer. Qinyu, I will leave the matters here to you. Yi Qinyu smiled. She was very experienced and her methods of doing things were extraordinary. Compared to Qingqing and Qing, she was much more suitable to handle these trivial matters. Farewell. Qin Wenyin smiled and nodded to the Violet Jade Fairy. After that, he spoke to the people of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Let's move out. Brother Qin, please. The experts from the Tiandao Sacred Academy laughed. After that, the group of them departed. Yi Qinyu and the others sent them off. They planned to send Qin Wenyin to the Tiandao Sacred Academy before going to Daoask City for a stroll. Right now, there were many world overlords among them. As long as they didn't take the initiative to create trouble, there wouldn't be any problems they couldn't resolve. The beautiful eyes of the Violet Jade Fairy froze. A look of unhappiness could be seen on her face. Last night, she seemed to have heard Jun Mingchen saying that Qin Wentian's courtyard was snatched away by Jian Wuxian. Now that Qin Wenyin didn't accept the kind intentions of the Daoask Lodge, it was clear that he was somewhat unhappy. There should be someone responsible for this matter. Sir Jian, let's move out. The other two people who came to welcome Jian Wuxian spoke. Jian Wuxian could sense the silence in the surroundings and nodded. Right now, the atmosphere around him was no longer as lively as before. The atmosphere was extremely strange. Let's go. The people from the Sword Saint Mountain also left together. When that person saw the cold gaze of the Violet Jade Fairy, he couldn't help but to shiver. He knew that Qin Wentian's rejection had caused this small matter to become even bigger. However, Qin Wentian basically didn't care about his existence. At this moment, he once again arrived outside the Tiandao Sacred Academy. His eyes were filled with anticipation. Back then when he was an Azure Mystic, he once went to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to seek the Tao and listened to the Tao lectures of experts there. Each time, he would improve greatly, and after he came out, it was like he had undergone a complete transformation. It was just that the current him couldn't be compared to the past. His cultivation base was much stronger compared to the past. Once, maybe an immortal emperor would be able to lecture them on the Tao. But now, the Tiandao Sacred Academy recommended heavenly deities to be their teachers. Ascending the stairway and entering the Sacred Academy, a world overlord at the side smiled at Qin Wentian. Brother Qin, I can see that the talent of your friends and family are all very good. Many of them have already broken through to the world overlord realm. Most probably, the amount of time they spent cultivating is also very short, right? Many of them are the same as me. You all should know about my junior apprentice brother Jun Mingchen. He is even younger than me and has already comprehended an extraordinary world heart. My demonic beast companion's true form is a heaven-devouring saint beast. If it wasn't for him being lazy, his cultivation base wouldn't be slower than mine. But even so, he is already a world overlord. Also, my wife and younger sister have outstanding talent and are about the same age as me. Their cultivation bases are also world overlords. Qin Wentian spoke. If there's a chance, I will mention this to Senior and see if we can recommend them to the Sacred Academy as well. Many thanks. Qin Wentian smiled. They continued to enter deeper into the Sacred Academy. This Sacred Academy was extremely vast and there were many secret realms within. The Tiandao Sacred Academy they saw from the outside was merely the tip of the iceberg. But even so, it was still boundlessly vast. Qin Wentian and the others came to a mystical place where there was a waterfall cascading down from the sky. Above the waterfall, there was a celestial mountain, and on the celestial mountain, there were jade pavilions. Brother Qin, Senior lives up there. He said that he wants you to be his neighbor and live here. What do you think? Senior treats me so well, but even now, I don't even know his name. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. That major character from the Tiandao Sacred Academy admired him very much. He could tell from this point. Senior's title is the Divine Sound World Overlord. His cultivation base is extremely high and he is someone extremely close to the Heavenly Tao. This time around, the Tiandao Sacred Academy will change the Heavenly Tao rankings and you will be able to enter it. However, Senior Divine Sound is the same as you, he is also ranked within and his cultivation base is extremely close to it. If one ignores one's potential and only considers combat prowess, Senior would definitely be able to enter the top 3 of the Heavenly Tao rankings. The person at the side laughed. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. So it turned out that the major character from the Tiandao Sacred Academy was also a character on the Heavenly Tao rankings and had the potential to step into the Heavenly Deity realm. Also, from the words of the major character, he should be extremely close to the Heavenly Deity realm. Don't boast about me in front of Wentian. That Heavenly Deity realm is something that can only be seen but not reached. I wonder when I would be able to step into it. In the airspace above the waterfall, a voice rang out. You guys can come up. Qin Wentian and the others flew up and arrived at the top of the waterfall. When they saw the luxurious buildings before them, Qin Wentian only felt that this place was like a paradise on earth. In the depths of the Tiandao Sacred Academy, there were many buildings that were extremely beautiful. Wentian pays his respects to Senior. Qin Wentian politely spoke. There's no need to be so polite. You and I are acquainted during the convention. It can also be considered fate. You have such talent at such a young age, and I feel ashamed to be ranked in the same heavenly Tao rankings as you. In the future, your accomplishments would definitely surpass mine. The Divine Sound World Overlord smiled. In the future, there's no need for you to refer to me as senior. Since we are both cultivating in the Sacred Academy and a heavenly deity is your master, you can just refer to me as Senior Brother Divine Sound. Chapter 1816. Qin Wenin could sense the closeness of the other party. He didn't reject it and smiled. Wenin pays my respects to Senior Brother Divine Sound. Junior Brother Qin, there's an empty courtyard on this mountain peak. You can stay there and be next to me. I heard that you brought your family and friends here to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Do you want them to enter the Sacred Academy for cultivation? Divine Sound asked. I have such thoughts. Some of them have extremely high talent. Qin Wendian didn't hesitate. He then continued, naturally, everything has to be carried out according to the will of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. I will arrange for them to stay at the Daoask Lodge. If it doesn't work out, they will temporarily stay in Daoask City. It's very easy for me to meet with them there. I will send someone to the Daoask Lodge to conduct a test. If they really have talent, they can enter the Sacred Academy as well. It's just that they won't have a heavenly deity as their master. Divine Sound spoke. That's only natural. Qin Wendian nodded. How could he not know what's good for him? Naturally, he felt that those with outstanding talent would also have heavenly deities guiding them. However, it was just the will of heavenly deities. As for him, he would have the chance to meet a true heavenly deity and receive his Tao teachings. It's impossible for heavenly deities to have free time at all times to guide others in cultivation. They would only occasionally transmit their Tao teachings. You should be able to understand this point. Divine Sound spoke. Qin Wenin naturally understood that heavenly deities also needed to cultivate. They would also yearn for greater strength and pursue supremacy. It was impossible for heavenly deities to spend all their time teaching others. Hence, heavenly deities would only transmit their Tao teachings once every 3 months. So frequently? Qin Wenin felt a little bewildered. Divine Sound laughed. He knew that Qin Wenin must have misunderstood. He smiled. Although it's impossible for heavenly deities to transmit their Taos at all times, Wenin, could it be that you really think that the heavenly deities are transmitting their Taos here in person? Qin Wendian started. After that, he couldn't help but laugh. That's right, how could a heavenly deity have so much free time? If he wanted to impart his Tao, why would he need to stay in the Sacred Academy? He would definitely visit the various regions and pursue the true essence of the heavenly Tao. As for imparting the Tao, even a strand of the will of a heavenly deity was extraordinary. If a strand of immortal sense was left behind, wouldn't it be sufficient for him to impart his Tao? Naturally, other than heavenly deities transmitting their Taos, there are also many cultivation secret realms in the Sacred Academy. You can explore them yourself. As long as you don't disturb the cultivation of others, the Tiandao Sacred Academy doesn't prohibit anything, even sparring. In the Tiandao Sacred Academy, it's very normal for conflicts to occur. The people who come here are all geniuses from the various regions and are all extremely proud and arrogant. But you have to stop when the situation is too bad. Friendly sparring would be able to stimulate the battle intent of experts. The Divine Sound World Overlord smiled as he glanced at Qin Wenin. Qin Wentian's name shook the mystic region. Right now, the heavenly Tao rankings of the Tiandao Sacred Academy also included him. Many people in the Tiandao Sacred Academy were unhappy about this. In the Sacred Academy, Qin Wendian shouldn't think about having a peaceful life. The world overlords at the side all smiled. In truth, when Qin Wendian entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy, the news circulated very quickly. Many transcendent-level world overlords in the Tiandao Sacred Academy all knew that the Qingqing Realm Lord has already entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy for cultivation. In addition, he would take a heavenly deity as his master and his name has already been engraved on the heavenly Tao rankings. Divine Sound, I heard that you recommended a Dao Seeker to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Right now, this Dao Seeker is extremely famous in the Mystic region and has even entered the Heavenly Dao rankings. Is it this person? At this moment, a voice drifted over. However, the person who spoke was actually in a palace located extremely far away. Yes, Junior Brother Chin's talent is extremely outstanding. I admire him very much and hence, I recommended him to the Sacred Academy. Divine Sound smiled as she replied. I'm afraid he's in trouble now. That combat maniac most probably wants to hunt him down. That person laughed. This is especially so for those rankers on the Heavenly Dao rankings. A strange look flashed in the eyes of Divine Sound as he thought of a person. This person wasn't someone from the Mystic region and came from the outer regions instead. He claimed that he came to the Tiandao's Sacred Academy in the Mystic region to seek the Dao. But other than seeking the Dao, he actually had another purpose. He wanted to experience the many extremely famous world overlords in the Mystic region. Many famous world overlords in the Tiandao Sacred Academy have been challenged by him before. As for the top 3 rankers on the Heavenly Dao rankings, he has also challenged them all. Right now, Qin Wenyan has already entered the Heavenly Dao rankings and was also in the Sacred Academy. Seems like there would definitely be a battle between them. In addition, you were the one who recommended him to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. I'm afraid he would suffer a calamity. That person laughed again. Clearly, his status was extraordinary as well. If not, it would be impossible for him to speak so casually to the Divine Sound World Overlord. Qin Wenyan had a strange expression on his face. He stared at the Divine Sound World Overlord with curiosity. He is an extremely arrogant person who loves battle. He came from the desolate region. Our Tiandao Sacred Academy has always emphasized education without discrimination. This person is extremely famous in the desolate region and his talent and combat prowess are both outstanding. Hence, we allowed him to enter the Sacred Academy. However, this young man is too arrogant and has no one in his eyes. Back then when he fought against me, I taught him a lesson. Divine Sound spoke. Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed. This person was actually a heaven-chosen world overlord from the desolate region? The Luotian clan was also a major power of the desolate region. A world overlord who is actually so famous in the desolate region? He should be very powerful, right? Qin Wenyan asked. He is different from you. His fame comes from his clan. He who originally came from a hegemonic power was nurtured by his clan as the next leader and obtained the supreme inheritance of his clan. Because of his fame, his combat prowess is extremely high and he has an innate Dao bone. Divine Sound World Overlord spoke. Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed again. An innate Dao bone? His Dao bone came from an inheritance left behind by a god king. As for this young man, he was born with an innate Dao bone. Senior Brother Divine Sound, I still have a question. Given how famous the Tiandao Sacred Academy is, why would they still come to Azure Mystic? The ancient emperors of Azure Mystic are merely at the Empyrean realm. To the Tiandao Sacred Academy, they shouldn't even be worth a mention, right? Qin Wenyan asked. The Tiandao Sacred Academy will not only come to Azure Mystic, they will also come to many other immortal realms in the lower world. Their Dao teachings naturally have to be based on the actual situation. Back then, Azure Mystic suffered a great calamity and was sealed, cutting off all communication with the outside world. There was no news and there were no experts. To Azure Mystic, it's already very impressive that they could enter the Empyrean realm. Divine Sound smiled. Naturally, other than this, there's another reason. There's an extremely powerful world overlord in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. He came from Azure Mystic and dedicated his entire life to the Sacred Academy. If there's a chance, I will introduce him to you guys. Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed. So this was the reason. The Tiandao Sacred Academy was intentionally giving special treatment to Azure Mystic. Although after ancient Azure Mystic was destroyed, the current Azure Mystic was in decline. But after countless years, there would surely be some people who came to the supreme ancient immortal realms. An example was ancient Emperor Yi. In that case, There were clearly many people before ancient emperor. It's just that it was truly not easy for someone who came out from Azure Mystic and could grow to become an extremely powerful world overlord, even having a high status in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. If one goes up further, they would be heavenly deities. Leaving aside Azure Mystic, how many heavenly deities were there in the entire 33 heavens, including the supreme ancient immortal realms? If there's a chance, I will definitely pay a visit. Qin Wendian nodded. He still had very deep feelings for Azure Mystic. After all, this was the place he grew up in. Oh yeah, there's a place in the Tiandao Sacred Academy that you should be very interested in. Divine Sound smiled. What place? Qin Wendian asked. The Heavenly Dao Library. The Divine Sound World Overlord spoke. The Heavenly Dao Library is the largest library in the Mystic region. There are countless Taoist scriptures here, as well as records of ancient and modern events. If you want to read through everything, you would most probably need 100 years. How many major events would happen in the supreme ancient immortal realms and the 33 heavens? How many years have passed? Countless years of accumulation only resulted in the Heavenly Dao Library today. Also, even now, there would still be people compiling and recording the major events that happened in the various regions of the supreme ancient immortal realms. For this convention, the God King of Time appeared again and left behind a message for a junior. This matter will be recorded in the Heavenly Dao Library. Inside, there are records of your deeds. Divine Sound laughed. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed with a dazzling light. It wasn't because the Heavenly Dao Library had records of him. Rather, it was because the Heavenly Dao Library contained records of ancient and modern events. In that case, wouldn't the matters of his parents, the matters of the Luotian clan, the matters of the Qin clan, and the world-ending battle of ancient Azure Mystic all be recorded? In addition, this would allow him to have a more comprehensive understanding of the 33 immortal realms. At the very least, he wanted to know the peak powers of the various immortal realms. Given your reaction, you should be very interested. Divine Sound laughed. Indeed, I'm already impatient to go there and take a look. Qin Wendian laughed. There's nothing much here anyway. If you want to go there, just do it. You guys lead the way and bring junior brother Wendian there. Divine Sound instructed the world overlords who came with him. Right. The world overlords smiled and nodded. After that, they asked, Brother Qin, are we going to the Heavenly Dao Library? Qin Wendian nodded. After that, he bid farewell and departed together with them. The world overlords here all felt somewhat envious of Qin Wendian. One of them spoke. Brother Qin already has a heavenly deity as your master the moment you entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Senior Divine Sound is your senior apprentice brother. When people compare themselves to others, the disparity is truly too great. I'm just lucky. I still have to thank senior brother Divine Sound for his appreciation. Qin Wendian humbly spoke. How is this luck? Clearly, you have proven your talent in the convention. Even if you chose the Ziwei Divine Court or other peak powers, you would still be heavily nurtured. In fact, your treatment might even be better compared to the treatment in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The world overlords didn't feel any jealousy in their hearts. They were just casually speaking. Given Qin Wendian's talent, they were far inferior to him. The Heavenly Dao Library was constructed in the middle of an ancient mountain peak. It was extremely majestic and had a total of 33 levels. 33 levels. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. The 33 levels of the Heavenly Dao Library correspond to the 33 immortal realms. Each level records the matters of the respective immortal realms. The highest level is the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms, and there are many different sections within. The world overlords beside him introduced. Qin Wendian nodded. The Tiandao Sacred Academy, what a grand investment. The largest library in the Mystic region definitely didn't have an undeserved reputation. Chapter 1817. Qin Wendian entered the Heavenly Dao Library. There were many people entering and exiting this place. Everyone who went to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to seek the Tao would definitely come to the Heavenly Tao Library. There were no exceptions. Before the 33 immortal realms, no matter how strong an individual was, they would still be insignificant. They wanted to take a look at this vast sea of knowledge. There were guardians in the Heavenly Tao Library. Other than cultivating, the only thing they did was to guard the Heavenly Tao Library and compile new historical records. One mustn't underestimate the guardians. If one asked who was the most knowledgeable about the 33 immortal realms, the oldest guardians would definitely be ranked among them. In fact, there were even some guardians who stayed here for tens of millions of years, willingly staying here. It could be said that they knew the history of the 33 immortal realms like the back of their hands. After Qin Wenyan entered, he glanced at the signboard and discovered that the supreme ancient immortal realms were at the highest level of the Heavenly Tao Library. This was very normal, but what made him surprised was that the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms were actually at the second level, just below the supreme ancient immortal realms. He didn't know if there was a deeper meaning behind this arrangement of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Maybe it was because Azure Mystic was the only immortal realm that wasn't ruled by a hegemonic power from the supreme ancient immortal realms. Qin Wenyan walked up the stairs and headed straight for the top 2 levels. Although he was also very interested in the other immortal realms, the number of books in the Heavenly Tao Library was simply too abundant. It was impossible for him to browse through them one by one. The ones he wanted to understand the most was still the supreme ancient immortal realms and Azure Mystic. After he arrived at the second level, he discovered that this level was much more spacious compared to the other levels. It seemed like the Heavenly Tao Library had the least amount of records regarding Azure Mystic. This could also be understood. After the world-ending battle, Azure Mystic was sealed away. After that, there didn't seem to be anything worthy for the Tiandao Sacred Academy to intentionally leave a record here. In fact, maybe the Tiandao Sacred Academy didn't even pay much attention to it. Qin Wenyan entered. The bookshelves were clearly categorized. For example, the major powers of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, the characters of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, the strange stories of Azure Mystic, etc. He came before a certain bookshelf. The world-ending battle of ancient Azure Mystic was listed separately, and there were many ancient scrolls introducing it. Qin Wenyan stretched out his hand and flipped open an ancient scroll. His immortal sense entered, and after that, numerous characters floated into his mind, incomparably clear. This is the background introduction of the Doomsday Battle. After Qin Wenyan finished reading, he placed it back to its original place. Indeed, it was like what the heavenly deities said back then. The background of the world-ending battle was after the 33 immortal realms were unified. Other than the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, the other 31 immortal realms were all ruled by the hegemonic powers of the supreme ancient immortal realms. At this moment, only Qing Xian stood tall. There were many hegemonic powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms that wanted to separate the 33 immortal realms. How could some ambitious people allow the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms to be weak? They naturally wanted to control the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms for themselves. Hence, they started this world-ending war. Naturally, the background recorded in the Jade Slip was even more detailed. Many powers of the heavenly deity race who participated in the world-ending battle no longer existed. From this, one could see how ancient the history was. Qin Wenyan quietly read. He flipped through the ancient scroll and gradually came into contact with the famous heavenly deities of ancient Azure Mystic. Among them, there were a few that were mentioned the most. One of them was none other than the imperishable Heaven Lord, the faith of ancient Azure Mystic. She was a true goddess, unexcelled in the world. Other than the imperishable Heaven Lord, the ancient scroll also introduced another character that the heavenly deities didn't mention to him. This legendary character, in the ancient scroll of the Tiandao Sacred Academy, was known as the Grim Reaper. During the world-ending battle, there were 2 people who received the most attention. One was the imperishable Heaven Lord, and the other was none other than the Grim Reaper. The various heavenly deities started the world-ending battle, destroying Azure Mystic. The imperishable Heaven Lord transformed into a form of heaven and earth, and just when everyone thought that this cruel war was about to end, the Grim Reaper arrived and killed his way into the supreme ancient immortal realms. He led his army of death spirits and was like a doomsday as he slaughtered his way into the heavenly deity race. Some of the heavenly deity race had thrived for countless years and had millions of people. The Grim Reaper arrived, destroying all existences. A portion of the powerful heavenly deity race was completely annihilated, vanishing from the supreme ancient immortal realms. It was precisely because of the existence of the Grim Reaper that the various heavenly deities didn't manage to conquer Azure Mystic. That world-ending battle was a true calamity. Not only for ancient Azure Mystic, it was also for some of the heavenly deity race. How cruel was the destruction of the heavenly deity race? From then on, Azure Mystic was sealed. No other power dared to invade Azure Mystic again. No one was willing to clash head-on with the Grim Reaper. He only had a codename, you wouldn't even know who he was. No one was willing to face his army of death spirits. After Qin Wenyin familiarized himself with this period of history, his heart trembled as his emotions fluctuated. So it turned out that not only ancient Azure Mystic was destroyed, some of the heavenly deity race in the supreme ancient immortal realms also suffered a calamity. Hence, calling it the world-ending battle was the most appropriate. Right now, whether it was right or wrong, Qin Wenyin also didn't know how to judge. In truth, it was all because of greed. If it wasn't for the various heavenly deities wanting to unify ancient Azure Mystic, there wouldn't be a world-ending battle. If they didn't start the world-ending battle, the Grim Reaper wouldn't have led his army of death spirits to kill his way into the supreme ancient immortal realms. Grim Reaper, Qin Wenyin mumbled. He involuntarily thought of a person. However, could this person be the Grim Reaper recorded in the ancient scroll? After he finished reading the dossier on the world-ending battle, Qin Wenyin glanced at other places and casually browsed through them. He didn't understand much about the history of the world-ending battle, hence he gave up and left this place, heading towards the highest level of the Heavenly Dao Library. When Qin Wenyin stepped into the highest level, he instantly felt a difference. There were simply too many books here. It was definitely the largest in the Heavenly Dao Library. The supreme ancient immortal realms was an upper world and could be said to be the leader of the 33 immortal realms. They had the most experts and the land they occupied was the largest. The history here was the longest and there were countless records. The Heavenly Dao Library of the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms was further divided into 8 regions. Heaven, Earth, Mystic, Yellow, Cosmos, Chaos, and Desolate. Each of the 8 regions occupied a region and there were countless books stored within. Qin Wenyin first walked to the region of the Heaven region. This region was further divided into many categories. Qin Wenyin found the introduction of the various powers in the Heaven region and after that, he saw the Qin clan. This was one of the 2 powers he wanted to understand the most when he came to the Heavenly Dao Library. The Qin clan was the clan his father was from and from a certain perspective, it was also where his clan was located. Sadly, right now, he had an irreconcilable grudge with the Qin clan. Just the introduction of the Qin clan alone was enough to fill up an entire section of bookshelves. A peak power that had existed for countless years, there were simply too many legends that could be written down. The names of those peak characters from generation to generation were all recorded in the scrolls. How could there not be many? Qin Wenyin started reading from the left and was extremely serious. For the vast majority of the records, he merely skimmed through them casually, continuing downwards. But even if there were many historical figures he had no knowledge of, although he was reading very quickly, he didn't miss out anything. Time flowed by bit. Finally, Qin Wenyin saw the content he wanted to see, and he became even more serious. There were many factions in the Qin clan and each faction had its times when they were strong and weak. But at the core, there were only a few factions. They were the foundation of the Qin clan and many supreme characters had appeared before. For example, the battle god of the Qin clan, Qin Tiangang, and Qin Ding. These 2 were a pair of cousins and were also the 2 hegemonic characters of a certain generation in the Qin clan. Battle god Qin Tiangang was invincible and had never been defeated before. He fought for the Qin clan and his fame shook the heavens. Qin Ding reigned supreme under the heavens and was similarly extraordinary. However, fate made fools of people. These two legendary characters, one of them didn't have a good ending. Qin Tiangang and his wife died when they were exploring a secret realm. Their deities fell. They left behind an orphan, a legendary character of the Qin clan of the next generation, Qin Yuanfeng. Because he was an orphan, although Qin Yuanfeng displayed extraordinary talent since young, he was always suppressed by another person. This person was none other than the heaven-chosen of the Qin clan, Qin Ding's son, Qin Zheng. Qin Zheng was destined to be extraordinary. The bloodline he belonged to was also extremely powerful. In addition to his own extraordinary talent, he was directly nurtured as the successor of the Qin clan. However, the matters of the world are ever-changing. There was a rumor in the Qin clan that Qin Tiangang and his wife had entered a secret realm, and before they died, they obtained a supreme treasure which was then passed on to their son, a legendary character named Qin Yuanfeng. With regards to this point, the ancient scrolls of the Tiandao Sacred Academy didn't record it in too much detail. But the things that happened after weren't too different from what Qin Wendian knew. In fact, the information recorded in the ancient scrolls wasn't as detailed as what he knew. After all, the Tiandao Sacred Academy wasn't a prophet. They didn't even know the exact details. Qin Wendian learned the name of his grandfather, Qin Tiangang. As for his father, Qin Yuanfeng, he was the same as him back then, an orphan. From this, one could very well imagine how much they had experienced. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but sigh at the unfairness of fate. The competition between his father and Qin Zheng had never been fair. If his grandfather was still alive, things would be different. Qin Wendian flipped through many legendary stories regarding his grandfather. He felt his blood boiling, but the more this was so, the deeper his hatred grew. His grandfather was the one who helped the Qin clan solidify their position in the heaven region. However, after his grandfather died, how did the Qin clan treat his father, Qin Yuanfeng? Reality was so cruel. Everything the Qin clan owed his bloodline, he had to repay it no matter what. Qin Wendian continued reading. He naturally wouldn't see his grandfather's existence, but he saw the legendary heaven's son, Qin Dangtian. After he finished reading, he silently placed the ancient scroll down. His expression was calm to the extreme as he walked towards the desolate region, browsing through the ancient scrolls of the Luotian clan. Here, the deeds of his maternal grandfather were recorded, as well as his uncle, the Sky Order heavenly deity, a legendary character in the desolate region. However, regardless of the Qin clan's heaven's son or the Sky Order heavenly deity, both mentioned the same thing. Heaven's son Qin Dangtian represented his father to battle and crippled the Sky Order heavenly deity. Qin Wendian was very serious about the Luotian clan's ancient scroll. After he finished reading, he fell silent for a long time as many emotions filled his heart. His immortal sense spread out as he started to search for other interesting scrolls. Very soon, his immortal sense stopped at a certain location. Over there, the Battle Saint tribe's ancient scroll. Chapter 1818. Right now, as the Saint Lord of the Battle Saint tribe, Qin Wendian naturally had to shoulder some missions. He hoped that he could help the Battle Saint tribe to grow stronger and fight against the Divine Ox clan once more, seizing back the glory that belonged to them. Right now, one of the three hegemonic powers of the desolate region, the Demon God Mountain, was an alliance formed by many powerful saint beasts. They were formed precisely for the sake of fighting against the Divine Ox clan. Those lofty demonic beasts that were once enslaved by the Divine Ox clan formed a powerful alliance, becoming the current Demon God Mountain. They would often send the Demon God Mountain to the various immortal realms in the lower world, allowing the greater demons in the lower world to undergo a transformation. In the future, when they came to the supreme ancient immortal realms, many of them would return to the Demon God Mountain. The Battle Saint tribe was also known as an ancient war-type tribe. Their combat prowess was heaven-shaking and their name shook the entire desolate region. They were once a peak power in the desolate region and could summon battle divine apes, possessing unfathomable divine strength. "What's the matter?" Qin Wenyan calmly asked. Qin Wenyan returned to his residence. On the second day, he headed to the residence of the divine sound world overlord, preparing to meet with the heavenly deity. He took the scroll and flipped through it as information regarding the Battle Saint tribe appeared in his mind. An ox demon is so talkative. Why does it feel so comical? Qin Wenyan coldly mocked. Devilock stared at him and laughed uproariously, causing the entire space to tremble as his battle intent grew even sharper. World of gods. Divine Sound laughed. Heavenly deities are able to create their own world. In the world of gods, all the heavenly Tao laws would revolve according to the will of the world's master. Hence, you won't be able to sense the familiar laws of heaven and earth. What a powerful battle intent. Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed as he stared at that person. This person was a young man with a muscular build. His expression was filled with arrogance, and his gaze was filled with a strong sense of aggression as he stared at Qin Wenyan. "You are the Qingqing Realm Lord?" "Oh yeah, I seem to have heard of some things." Luo Shenlei also went to the convention. "You should have interacted with Luo Shenlei before. Let me remind you not to be too intimate with her. I've already reserved her as one of my women." The devil woman spoke with cold arrogance. Their divine ox clan must obtain the bloodline of the Luotian clan no matter what. Although the Sky Order heavenly deity was crippled, he was still a heavenly deity after all. The bloodline talent of his daughter would surely be extraordinary. In the desolate region, other than the Luotian clan and divine ox clan, there was another power. Qin Wenyan had come into contact with this power before. Their name was the Demon God Mountain. Once in Azure Mystic, the Demon God Mountain descended upon the desolate 10,000 mountain range, causing the demonic beasts there to evolve. The peak of the Demon God Mountain contained the inheritances of many peak-level greater demons. Behind the curtains was none other than the Demon God Mountain. With regards to this battle, Scroll looked at it from an objective point of view. The destruction of the Battle Saint tribe was because of their arrogance. They looked down on the Kuei Ox, and in the past, they were indeed stronger than the Divine Ox clan. However, the Divine Ox clan knew that their talent was inferior to the Battle Saint tribe. They knew how to endure silently, and their methods were extremely powerful. They once fled to a particle world in the outer realms to avoid calamity, and eventually, they forcibly obtained victory. I casually learned about the various hegemonic powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms. In the future, if I encounter them, I won't be completely clueless. Qin Wenyan nodded. Because this goddess was a true divinity. Qin Wenyan felt joy in his heart. Seems like his senior brother Divine Sound was intentionally taking care of him. Although the talent of many people met the requirements, it was impossible for everyone to do so. Divine Sound clearly had the intention of taking care of Qin Wenyan by asking him to bring everyone here. A genius from the desolate region. In the desolate region, other than the Luotian clan, the only other hegemonic powers were the Divine Ox clan and the Demon God Mountain. Which power did this person belong to? Qin Wenyan understood the various hegemonic powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms. He really wanted to finish reading all the scrolls in the supreme ancient immortal realms in one go. However, there were simply too many scrolls and it would take too much time. He didn't have tens or hundreds of years to spend here. Hence, after gaining a basic understanding of the supreme ancient immortal realms, he walked out of the Heavenly Tao library. His senior brother Divine Sound told him to go out. Most probably, the day of the Tao lecture was about to arrive. Qin Wenyan felt some shock in his heart. A heavenly deity from the Tiandao Sacred Academy was actually a female. Divine Sound even recommended her as his master. There was another hegemonic power in the desolate region named the Divine Ox clan. The true form of their ancestor was a Kuei Ox, an extremely powerful demonic beast. The scrolls in the Battle Saint tribe recorded the grudges between the Battle Saint tribe and the Divine Ox clan. This grudge lasted for many years. The Divine Ox clan used various methods to plunder the Battle Saint tribe's Battle Saint bone, grafting it into their bodies. After that, the Battle Saint tribe grew more and more mediocre until the Battle Saint tribe was annihilated by the Divine Ox clan. The people here were all extremely outstanding world overlords. Only they had the qualifications to be taught the Tao by heavenly deities. Who are you? Qin Wentian asked. Do you really have designs on Luotianlei? Devilox stared at Qin Wentian's eyes. When he saw his reaction, he spoke, I advise you to give up. She is mine. Qin Wentian continued reading the scrolls in the Heavenly Tao Library, understanding the various hegemonic powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms. More and more matters regarding the supreme ancient immortal realms appeared in his mind. Many thanks, senior brother. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded. When Divine Sound and Qin Wentian walked over, these people all turned their heads and stared at them. One of them had a sharp gaze as he stared at Qin Wentian. A sharp battle intent radiated from him. This was the energy in his body that was formed naturally. In an instant, Qin Wentian felt a towering battle might pressing down on him. The scrolls recorded the glorious history of the Battle Saint tribe. At the same time, it also recorded their decline and destruction. In this case, after the people from the Battle Saint tribe entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy, they temporarily couldn't be allowed to come into contact with this person before them. Naturally, the world of a heavenly deity was on a completely different level compared to a world established by a world overlord. This was a goddess. She was clad in white, incomparably pure and holy. Radiance enveloped her body, sacred and inviolable. Her appearance was extremely beautiful, flawless and flawless. The moment she appeared, even the heaven and earth lost their colors. Everyone bowed slightly, incomparably respectful. Even the previously arrogant Devilox was the same. Nothing much. I heard that you made quite a name for yourself in the convention of the myriad realms in the Mystic region and even entered the Heavenly Tao rankings of the Sacred Academy. If there's a chance, I would like to spar with you. The young man calmly spoke. Qin Wentian recalled the words of a world overlord when he first came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Could it be that person? Devilox. The young man calmly spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with sharpness. Devilox was truly from the Divine Ox clan. In the past countless years, the Divine Ox clan wanted to obtain the bloodline of the Luotian clan, but they had never succeeded. Now they would obtain it starting from him. In this place, there was no sun or moon, only a sky filled with astral light. It seemed like the laws of heaven and earth here were different from the external world. What made Qin Wentian's heart tremble was that he felt that he couldn't sense any energy from the external world. Qin Wentian nodded. He didn't feel anything strange. Even world overlords who were proficient in unique techniques would be able to establish their own world, let alone heavenly deities who controlled the heavenly Tao. Qin Wentian walked over. He didn't expect that there would be records of the long-destroyed Battle Saint tribe here. The Heavenly Tao Library was truly all-encompassing. Divine Ox Clan. Qin Wentian glanced at the side. The records regarding the Divine Ox Clan were placed beside the Battle Saint tribe's records. Clearly, it was for the convenience of those who came here to browse through them. He then took the records regarding the Divine Ox Clan and seriously read through them as he sighed in his heart. Devilox, shut up. A cold, berating voice rang out. Devilox instantly shut up when he heard this voice. After that, he turned his gaze ahead as a look of sincerity could be seen in his eyes. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the air. It was incomparably breathtaking. Divine Sound just stood at the side and watched. He didn't interfere. This was something Qin Wentian would have to experience, competing against the geniuses of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. This. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. He turned to Divine Sound and asked, "Senior brother, what is this place?" In the records regarding the Divine Ox Clan in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, there were records of Devilox. Devilox was destined to be extraordinary because he inherited a sacred bone. Qin Wentian frowned. Devilox's attitude seemed to contain a hint of provocation. That's true. You would come in contact with them sooner or later. Given your talent, you would definitely walk the path of a heavenly deity in the future. You wouldn't be able to avoid contending against those peak powers. Divine Sound spoke. In addition, I've sent some people to the Dao Ask Lodge to take a look at your family and friends. There are indeed many with pretty good talent. If you have time, bring them over and let them stay at your place. During these few days, have you been in the Heavenly Dao Library? Divine Sound smiled at Qin Wenin. The days were long, he would come to the Heavenly Dao Library again if he had the chance in the future. Not only did they dig out the Battle Saint bone of the Battle Saint tribe, in the process of them controlling the demonic beasts, they also absorbed the bloodlines of other demonic beasts, causing their descendants to grow stronger and stronger. This was why they were unable to stand at the peak of the desolate region. Let's go. Divine Sound spoke. After that, he led the way into the depths of the Tiandao Sacred Academy until they entered a screen of light. The surroundings suddenly changed, they seemed to have arrived in another world. The Battle Saint tribe was destroyed because they were too arrogant. The Divine Ox clan rose up because they knew their weakness. They weren't the most peak-level demonic beasts. The talents of divine dragons, phoenixes, and great rocks were all more outstanding compared to them. However, they were still able to stand at the peak of the desolate region and even led demonic beasts that were even more noble than them. From this, one could see how powerful the methods of the Divine Ox clan's ancestor were. His senior brother Divine Sound once said that this man had an innate Dao bone. This caused him to recall the Battle Saint bone that was stolen from the Battle Saint tribe. As Qin Wenin continued on, he saw a few more people. These people sat on the stone platforms and were quietly waiting. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with coldness when he heard the words of the other party. He wanted Luo Xunlei to become one of his women? These people are all disciples of Heaven Deity Dugu. Divine Sound spoke. Clearly, Heaven Deity Dugu wasn't just the teacher of Qin Wenin alone. The number of heavenly deities in the Tiandao Sacred Academy was already extremely low. If he only taught one person, what kind of treatment would that be? How would he be able to pass on his Dao? Chapter 18-19. Goddess Dugu was extremely beautiful. Her beautiful eyes stared at everyone before landing on Qin Wenin. She then spoke. You are the Qingcheng Realm Lord, Qin Wenin, right? Her voice was warm, causing one to feel as though they were bathing in the spring breeze. Qin Wenin nodded and bowed. Junior student Qin Wenin pays my respects to teacher. A teacher was someone who imparted the Dao to others. Naturally, he could also be referred to as a teacher. Goddess Dugu nodded lightly. A formless energy enveloped Qin Wenin as she spoke. You are so young yet you have such a cultivation base and even obtained the recognition of a god king. It's truly rare and praiseworthy. I heard from Divine Sound that you mainly cultivate the laws of space-time and your world heart is able to freeze time and space. Is that right? It can be considered so. Qin Wenin replied. The ability to freeze time and space is actually just a type of my world heart. My world heart is named the Heavenly Fate World Heart. This name was bestowed upon me by senior brother Divine Sound. Within my world heart, I can control everything. My will is heaven's will, and after that, I cultivated the laws of time and infused them into my world heart, creating the ability to freeze time and space. Release the power of your world heart and let me sense it. Goddess Dugu spoke. Qin Wenin nodded. He released his world heart onto Goddess Dugu, but he didn't unleash any offensive power. Goddess Dugu sensed it and nodded. How did you comprehend it? Did you receive guidance from someone in the past? This student once had a stroke of good fortune and comprehended many heaven heart mandates. Because I wanted to create a world heart that could be used in combat, I spent 100 years comprehending it before I was able to derive it. Qin Wenin replied. Seems like you are someone with great fortune. This path you chose is extremely correct. If you continue down this path, you would be able to touch upon the heavenly Dao sooner or later. The goddess nodded. Although I'm a heavenly deity, in truth, you guys are already at this level. Although the distance to the heavenly deity realm is still very far, it isn't that far. The effect of my Dao lectures to you guys is limited. The path of cultivation ultimately still depends on your own comprehension. Qin Wenin, Do you know what the greatest difference between heavenly deities and world overlords is? Qin Wendian shook his head. Before this, he had been trying to break through to the world overlord realm. As for the heavenly deity realm, the Skybreak heavenly deity didn't mention it to him before. Most probably, he didn't want him to be too ambitious. World overlords, a world heart is the domain of one's heart. In this world, one would have immense control over it. As for heavenly deities, it is a transformation. They can control the heavenly Tao of an area. Just by standing there, that area would be his heaven and earth. Everything would revolve according to his will. Heavenly deities are like this world. I represent the heavenly Tao. Goddess Dugu slowly spoke. As the sound of her voice faded, the constellations in the sky shifted positions. After that, resplendent beams of light shot out, resembling a meteor shower. Qin Wendian suddenly felt that everything had changed. Right now, he was in the boundless starry space. This wasn't an environment, it was reality, a scene that changed according to Goddess Dugu's will. This is just a small trick. If you enter the heavenly deity realm, you can even allow people to live in your world. They would think that this is the real world. Yes, the world is like this, it's just like a particle world. The people who live there wouldn't know how vast the outside world is. Hence, I sometimes wonder if the supreme ancient immortal realms we live in is also a world created by some unknown existences. Maybe everything we experience is merely a result of the will of others? Goddess Dugu calmly spoke. Qin Wendian's heart trembled. This guess was a little too audacious. But one couldn't help but to say that Goddess Dugu's words weren't wrong. You might feel that things are impossible, but that's because you are limited by your own limitations. For ordinary people in a particle world, would they dare to imagine that the world they lived in was just a particle world? However, what you all want to know is how to become a heavenly deity. I'm sure you all know that the comprehension of the world heart and heaven heart mandates is a fusion of source origins. When the fusion reaches a certain degree, there would be a transformation. But in truth, even if some people fuse multiple source origins together, they would never be able to step into the heavenly deity realm. This is because the path they pursue is wrong, they wouldn't be able to find their own Tao. As for some people, they would be able to smoothly corroborate their Tao, they would only need a single thought. Goddess Dugu continued, corroborating the heavenly Tao is ultimately a process of returning to one's original state. Some people might only comprehend a single law attribute, but they would still be able to corroborate their Tao. For example, one day in their own world, they would be the great Tao of samsara. With a single thought, they would be able to cause others to enter samsara, or even themselves. This is what it means to be a deity. Some people can control the great Tao of time, but they can completely control time and even reverse the flow of time. This is what it means to be a deity. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. He involuntarily thought of the time realm. In that case, could the time realm be a world that belonged to the God King of Time? He was able to reverse the flow of time, bringing him back to the past. May the student be so bold as to ask teacher, what is your Tao? Qin Wendian asked. A true heavenly deity appeared before him, imparting her Tao to him. He really wanted to know what unfathomable abilities heavenly deities had exactly. My Tao, Goddess Dugu mumbled. After that, a figure that looked exactly the same as Qin Wendian appeared before him. It was another Qin Wendian. Who are you? The fake Qin Wendian asked. His voice was the same as his. Qin Wendian's expression changed. However, the fake Qin Wendian continued, you actually dare to impersonate me? As the sound of his voice faded, a powerful might gushed forth from him. It was actually the heavenly fate world heart as he roared, space-time freeze. At this moment, Qin Wendian only felt that his body couldn't move. A look of shock appeared on his face, he found it hard to believe what he was seeing. After that, numerous beautiful figures appeared in the air. All of them were actually Goddess Dugu. Each of them exuded magnificence through the generations. It was impossible to tell which one was the real one. This is my Tao. Goddess Dugu spoke. The fake Qin Wendian vanished, but he was so real. Qin Wendian felt his body turning cold. Heavenly deities had unfathomable abilities. Just by standing there, he represented the heavenly Tao. His will was the will of the heavenly Tao. Qin Wenyin had a look of contemplation on his face. What was the Tao of heavenly deities exactly? He felt that he couldn't understand it at all. Most probably, he was still very far away from that step. Other than Wentian, the others here have all listened to my Tao lecture before. I won't repeat what I said before. Next, I will talk about my experiences when I was cultivating in the past, as well as my insights. The goddess slowly spoke. After that, she closed her eyes, exuding an incomparably holy aura. The heavens and earth changed. She used the unfathomable might of the heavenly Tao to bring everyone to a different scene. Qin Wenyin seriously observed and listened. The others were the same as well. All of them were extremely quiet. This lecture lasted for 3 days. Gradually, Qin Wenyin gained some understanding of Goddess Dugu's Tao. This was an extremely terrifying heavenly Tao ability that could be replicated endlessly. She could even replicate herself and have countless incarnations. Each incarnation could unleash her original strength. It was equivalent to having an endless amount of power. If a battle erupted between heavenly deities, what sort of scene would that be? Would Goddess Dugu borrow the might of the heavenly Tao to replicate countless goddesses and attack together? What sort of scene would that be? He simply didn't dare to imagine it. Finally, the Tao lecture ended. Everyone was still immersed in it and had no way to extricate themselves. Goddess Dugu's figure gradually vanished. After a long time, Qin Wenyin and the others opened their eyes one after another. Their eyes gleamed with sharpness. "How do you feel?" Divine Sound stared at Qin Wenyin as he asked. "I've benefited greatly." Qin Wenyin seriously nodded. He had indeed benefited greatly. Although his understanding of heavenly deities was still blurry, at the very least, a huge door had opened up for him. "Let's have a spar. How about it?" Only to see Devilox staring at Qin Wenyin as a cold smile appeared on his face. Before this, Qin Wenyin actually dared to insult him. "Not interested." Qin Wenyin calmly spoke. He didn't look at Devilox and spoke to Divine Sound instead. "Senior brother, let's return." Divine Sound nodded. Devilox's expression was cold. He actually followed behind Divine Sound and Qin Wenyin. Divine Sound frowned, but he didn't care about it. The group of them left this world and soared through the air. "Qin Wenyin, now that you are already a ranker on the Heavenly Tao rankings of the Mystic Region, you actually don't even dare to accept the challenge?" After exiting the Heavenly Deity world, Devilox seemed to be even more fearless. His voice boomed out in all directions. Many people in the Sacred Academy could hear his voice. He was issuing a challenge to Qin Wenyin. Ultimately, he is still a demon. Qin Wenyin calmly spoke, ignoring him. Devilox didn't seem to want to spare Qin Wenyin. Divine Sound turned and calmly glanced at him. In an instant, a formless sound wave manifested, wanting to shatter the entire space. Devilox only felt an intense pain in his eardrums as an irresistible pressure bore down on him. The him at this moment seemed to have lost his hearing. However, this feeling vanished in an instant. Divine Sound and Qin Wenyin left. Devilox halted his steps and stared at Qin Wenyan's departing back as a malevolent smile appeared on his face. There seemed to be a Tao bone in his body. If he could graft it onto his body, wouldn't that mean that he would have 2 Tao bones? Before that, he had to test Qin Wenyan's strength first. After Qin Wenyan returned, he bid farewell to the Divine Sound World Overlord and left the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Divine Sound has already told him that he can allow his family and friends to enter the Sacred Academy for cultivation. He naturally wanted to bring Qingqing and the rest to the Tiandao Sacred Academy first. Although the Daoist Lodge was also very safe, how could it be compared to the Tiandao Sacred Academy? Even hegemonic powers in the Mystic Region wouldn't dare to cause trouble in the Sacred Academy. In the Daoist Lodge, when the serving girl saw Qin Wenyin returning, she immediately took out her messaging crystal, as though she was informing someone. Very soon, the Violet Jade Fairy arrived. When she saw Qin Wenyin and Qin Wentian's family, she walked up and smiled. Young Master Qin, in the past I said that I would prepare a heaven's equal residence for your friends. Now it has already been prepared. As for that person who changed the courtyard privately, we've already dealt with him. Qin Wenyan smiled at the violet jade fairy. I appreciate fairies' kind intentions. It's just that I have to bring them into the sacred academy for cultivation now. The beautiful eyes of the violet jade fairy froze. She stared at the people around Qin Wenyan. Clearly, they received the news and were waiting for him here. So many people entering the sacred academy together? What kind of treatment did the Tiandao Sacred Academy give the Qingqing Realm Lord? Chapter 1820. Qin Wenyan brought Qingqing, Qing'er and the others into the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Jun Mingchen and the others were naturally filled with curiosity and yearning for the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Very swiftly, Jun Mingchen became familiar with the Tiandao Sacred Academy and even made friends with many world overlords. His talent was extraordinary and he had also comprehended an extraordinary world heart. Many world overlords were willing to become friends with him and cultivate together. He would also frequently explore the secret realms with Little Rascal, Nanfeng Yaoyue and the other world overlords, or listen to the Tao lectures of supreme world overlords, discussing their cultivation experiences. They mutually verified their own Taos and improved together, benefiting greatly from this. Qin Wenyan told Emperor Yu and the other members of the Battle Saint tribe about the Divine Ox clan. After they learned of the truth, all of them were filled with righteous indignation and didn't dare to reveal their strength easily. However, they put in even more effort in their cultivation as they felt an incomparably great pressure. Their enemy was actually a hegemonic power of the desolate region, the Divine Ox clan. At the same time, they also sighed in admiration. The talent of this generation's Saint Lord was truly supreme. He actually managed to reach this step and came into contact with the secrets of their Battle Saint tribe. As for Qin Wenyan, he was naturally also busy with his cultivation. There were many secret realms in the Tiandao Sacred Academy that could allow one to cultivate innate techniques of the Great Tao. Each of these secret realms represented a Tao inheritance that could allow one to gain deep insights. At this moment, in a secret realm, Qin Wenyan stood on the peak of an ancient mountain. He stared up in the air only to see an illusory and blurry figure there. There was a formless energy in the air that was extremely terrifying, resembling Tao might. This was none other than the power of a Heaven Heart mandate. For experts at the World Overlord realm, they mainly cultivated their World Heart and Heaven Heart mandates. This was the foundation of stellar martial cultivators. With the suppression of their World Heart, there was no need for any other methods and they would be able to directly suppress their opponents. However, they also cultivated innate techniques and arts. Powerful Tao arts and Heaven Heart mandates complemented each other, giving them boundless might, allowing their strength to grow even more terrifying. As for the innate techniques and arts of world overlords, they couldn't simply rely on cultivating the techniques left behind by their predecessors. They had to rely on their own comprehensions, using their own Heaven Heart mandates to comprehend them, transforming them into their own strength. After all, everyone's Heaven Heart mandates were different. Only by doing so would they be able to unleash the strongest might. Qin Wentian's tiny astral being contained all sorts of techniques, all of them contained boundless might. Some of them could be cultivated by directly inserting Heaven Heart mandates into them. After that, after one's comprehension and tempering, they would be able to unleash their own Heaven Heart mandates, allowing them to unleash immense might. When he defeated Yu Changkong, he had once unleashed a supremely powerful attack, fusing all the energy of his World Heart into one, transforming it into a terrifying attack that injured Yu Changkong. The power of that attack was something he had infused into his own World Heart. Qin Wenyan stared at the sky only to see that the shadow figure in the air was slowly moving. He stretched out his 5 fingers and slashed them downwards. In an instant, a formless energy manifested from his 5 fingers, penetrating through space, penetrating through the heavens and earth. Qin Wendian lifted his hand and blasted out. Light and darkness energy soared up, wanting to block that attack. However, that formless energy directly penetrated through the heaven heart mandates of Qin Wenyan, directly slamming into Qin Wentian's body. In an instant, Qin Wenyan only felt the might of the 5 fingers transforming into tribulation force. His entire body trembled uncontrollably as he endured the tribulation. When the tribulation force landed on him, the energy in his body seemed to be sealed. He couldn't move at all. If another finger shot over, he would surely die. 7 slaughter calamity finger. Qin Wendian mused in a low voice. The might of a single finger contained the 7 slaughter calamity force, able to penetrate through all attacks. It was tyrannical and invincible. After cultivating here for many days, Qin Wendian left this secret realm and headed to another secret realm to comprehend. This time around, he came to a secret realm that was filled with Buddhist energy. There was an innate imprint technique here, and each imprint was infused with the power of a heaven heart mandate. When the imprints blasted over at the same time, Qin Wendian felt the light from the imprints enveloping the entire space. Even before the imprints landed, his body was already frozen in place, unable to move. The entire space was locked in place, and this was actually a technique that could freeze time. Although it was different, it achieved the same effect through different means, and the might of this technique was terrifying. Qin Wendian also saw an even more terrifying Dao art in another secret realm. When the other party glanced at him, his life seemed to be in the hands of the other party. Such an ability was simply heaven-defying. With just a glance from the other party, your life would be in the hands of the other party. How heaven-defying was this? After heading to the secret realms of the Tiandao Sacred Academy to cultivate, Qin Wendian no longer dared to have any arrogance in his heart. Although the ability to freeze time was heaven-defying, if he really encountered an extremely powerful major character, the other party would have too many methods to kill him. Those innate techniques comprehended using heaven heart mandates could kill him formlessly from a great distance away. After all, the number of world overlords he came into contact with was still too little. He was already a transcendent-level world overlord when he broke through, and after that, he only came into contact with the lifelong realm lord. After that, he participated in the convention of the myriad realms and didn't experience many battles. He spent most of his time spectating. Time flowed by. Qin Wendian immersed himself in his cultivation in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. His family and friends were also immersed in it, and their improvements were very great. During this period, he would occasionally contact Luotian Lei and ask her about her situation in the Luotian clan. Right now, through the Heavenly Dao Library, he had a general understanding of the Luotian clan. Unknowingly, several tens of years passed. During these tens of years, Qin Wendian felt that he had benefited greatly. He comprehended many types of innate techniques and Daos that were extremely powerful. He would also frequently listen to the Dao lectures of Goddess Dugu and gain new insights every time. Today, the atmosphere in the Tiandao Sacred Academy suddenly became a little chaotic. There seemed to be an undercurrent flowing as many people were discussing about a certain matter. This matter not only caused a huge commotion in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, it even caused a huge commotion in the external world. The hegemonic powers of the mystic region were all paying attention to this matter. Senior brother, are you still cultivating? Recently, the Tiandao Sacred Academy isn't very peaceful. At this moment, Qin Wendian, who was cultivating in a secret realm, suddenly heard Jun Mengchen's voice. Qin Wendian felt a little puzzled. The Tiandao Sacred Academy was a sacred ground and wouldn't participate in the conflicts of the external world. It didn't establish a power or fight for territory, it only focused on spreading the Dao. How could it not be peaceful? What happened? Qin Wendian asked. There's a person who wants to come to the Tiandao Sacred Academy, saying that he's here to seek the Dao. This caused a huge commotion. Even in the external world, there are many people discussing this. Even the mystic region is shaken by this. The major powers are all paying attention to this. Jun Mengchen spoke. I truly didn't expect that there would actually be such a famous character in the supreme ancient immortal realms. A single visit to seek the Tao caused such a huge commotion. Even the Tiandao's Sacred Academy seems to be under a formless pressure. Who is it? Qin Wendian asked. He is the same as you, his surname is Qin and he came from the Heaven region. He seems to be a descendant of an extremely powerful peak clan in the Heaven region and has supreme talent. Jun Mingchen spoke. In fact, he even has the title of Heaven's Son. How imposing, he actually referred to himself as Heaven's Son. Qin Wendian's heart suddenly trembled. His eyes gleamed with sharpness, gleaming with a terrifying coldness. Heaven region, Qin clan, Heaven's Son. Qin Dangtian came. He wanted to come to Tiandao's Sacred Academy. Qin Dangtian was already a heavenly deity. Why did he come to Tiandao's Sacred Academy? Did this have something to do with him? This shouldn't be possible. If the Qin clan knew about him, they would investigate him in secret instead of Qin Dangtian coming here. It's rumored that he only cultivated for a few thousand years before he became a heavenly deity. He is the youngest heavenly deity in the Heaven region and his talent can be said to be supreme. He has already broken through to the heavenly deity realm and said that he came to Tiandao's Sacred Academy to seek the Tao. However, many people are guessing that his purpose isn't so simple. There's a high possibility that he came to Tiandao's Sacred Academy to seek the Tao. Jun Mingchen spoke. Qin Wendian naturally understood that the so-called Tao discussion was actually a competition to learn from each other. Qin Dangtian's ambitions were naturally extremely great. Back then when he broke through to the heavenly deity realm, his first battle was against Qin Wendian's uncle, the Sky Order heavenly deity. He was defeated by Qin Wendian's uncle, the Sky Order heavenly deity, causing his name to resound through the world. Now that he came to Tiandao's Sacred Academy to seek the Tao, how could his purpose be so simple? I understand, I will exit this way. Qin Wendian spoke. After that, he left the secret realm. Because of this piece of news, his state of heart wavered slightly. Heaven's Son was his destined enemy, a natural rival. From the moment they were born, their fates were already determined. Right now, he was going to Tiandao's Sacred Academy. Would it be possible for him to meet Heaven's Son? After Qin Wendian left the secret realm, he first came to his senior brother, Divine Sound. Coincidentally, Divine Sound was also here to meet some friends. When he saw Qin Wendian, he smiled. Wendian, you have come. Senior brothers, what are you guys chatting about? Qin Wendian smiled. What can there be? Recently, the Tiandao Sacred Academy has suddenly become restless because of the news of the arrival of a certain person. Many people are discussing the purpose of his arrival. Seems like even a sacred ground like the Tiandao Sacred Academy would have its days of restlessness. Divine Sound replied. This person is the same as you, his surname is Qin and he is from the Qin clan of the Heaven region. You have read the ancient scrolls in the Heavenly Tao library before, you should know about this power, right? Emichim. Qin Wendian nodded. He felt some shock in his heart. He didn't expect that even his senior brother Divine Sound would be discussing this matter. From this, one could see how great the repercussions were. From this, one could also see how great the influence of this cousin of his was. Even before this person arrived, he had already caused such a huge commotion in the entire Tiandao Sacred Academy. This was truly something that the current Qin Wendian had no way to compare to. I've read about him in the ancient scrolls of the Qin clan before. He defeated the Sky Order heavenly deity in the first battle and is known as Heaven's Son. Senior brother, do you not know why he came to Tiandao Sacred Academy? Qin Wendian asked. I'm not sure. The news he released was that he is here to seek the Tao. Many people speculate that he might be here to discuss the Tao. Tiandao Sacred Academy is a place that stands aloof from worldly affairs, yet it is publicly acknowledged as a sacred ground for cultivation. Since he chose to discuss the Tao here, there's nothing to be picky about, Divine Sound replied. Qin Wendian nodded. When will he arrive? 10 days later, he will enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy. However, there's no need for you to worry about this matter. There will be heavenly deities to deal with him. Divine Sound replied. Qin Wendian nodded. He then bade farewell and departed. Chapter 1821. During these few days, Qin Wentian's heart was filled with waves. This was because Qin Dangtian was about to arrive. This cousin of his who was known as Heaven's Son, what sort of character would he be? Today, Qin Wentian received a transmission from Luo Shenlei. She spoke to him, "Elder brother, I heard that Qin Dangtan will be heading to Tiandao's Sacred Academy soon. He will arrive a few days later." Qin Wentian took out his messaging crystal and replied. After he spoke, silence filled the air. With regards to the enemy who crippled her father, Luo Shenlei must be filled with hatred. However, what could she do? Most probably, she wouldn't be able to catch up to Qin Dangtian. Only Qin Wentian had hope. Her father said that they were born to be enemies. But now, Qin Wentian wasn't Qin Dangtian's opponent. After all, Qin Dangtian has cultivated for thousands of years and has broken through to the heavenly deity realm. Below heavenly deities, all lives were mortals. This was the perspective of heavenly deities. They comprehended the heavenly Tao and stood at a supreme height. "Elder brother, be careful." A moment later, Luo Shenlei reminded him. Qin Wentian knew that she was worried. She was afraid that he would be impulsive and cause his identity to be revealed. If that was the case, the consequences would be unimaginable. "Don't worry," Qin Wentian replied. After that, he kept his messaging crystal. "What's wrong?" Mo Qingqing walked to the side of Qin Wentian and asked in a light voice. She could tell that something was weighing on Qin Wentian's mind during these few days. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over and stroked her hair. He smiled gently. "I can resolve it." Mo Qingqing smiled sweetly and didn't ask any more. Qin Wentian naturally had his reasons for not telling her. Qin Wentian gently embraced Mo Qingqing. He naturally knew that he had to be careful not only for himself. Right now, he had too many responsibilities on his shoulders. Qingqing, both of them needed him. His life didn't just belong to him, it belonged to the people around him as well. Mo Qingqing seemed to have sensed the fluctuations in Qin Wentian's emotions during these few days. Mo Qingqing seemed to have sensed the fluctuations in Qin Wentian's emotions during these few days. She lightly leaned into his embrace and didn't say anything. Qing also quietly walked to his side and didn't say anything. Qin Wentian turned his head and stared at her. Qing's hair was completely white, yet it was hard for it to mask her magnificence. She was as cold as ever, quietly standing beside him and leaning on his arm, giving him a formless sense of warmth. The two women he loved, with their meticulous minds, could clearly sense the changes in Qin Wentian's emotions during these few days. Maybe, the pressure on him was too great. Qin Wentian naturally felt pressure. The pressure he felt had never been so great before because he knew what sort of opponent he was facing. His destined enemy was already a heavenly deity and was known as the Heaven's Son. He wasn't an ordinary heaven chosen but a supreme genius who stood at the peak, his name resounding throughout the 8 regions. His enemy was none other than a hegemonic power of the heaven region, the Qin clan. His father's vengeance, his uncle's hatred, all the responsibilities were on his shoulders. But his enemy was unprecedentedly powerful. Feeling the warmth from the two women, at this moment, Qin Wentian's starry eyes were filled with incomparable determination. Finally, the day where the Heaven's Son would enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy arrived. Today, a commotion broke out in Daoask City. Countless experts and characters gathered outside the Sacred Academy. There was a sea of people as they stared at the heavenly Tao stairway leading to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Today, a supreme character was about to arrive, stepping into the Tiandao Sacred Academy. This wasn't some random genius of a region. The weight of the heavenly Tao rankings couldn't be compared to him. He was known as the Heaven's Son and became a heavenly deity after a few thousand years. He crippled the heavenly mandate realm in a single battle, becoming a god, becoming famous throughout the 8 regions. The news of him coming to the Tiandao Sacred Academy has long circulated, causing a huge commotion. The attention of the various peak powers in the mystic region was all focused on the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Qin Dangtan, Heaven's Son, a future god king, a character who stood at the peak of the 33 immortal realms. What sort of character would he be? Countless people were filled with anticipation. Countless young ladies were filled with anticipation. Countless young men were all staring up at him. Today, many people were waiting at the top of the Heavenly Tao stairway leading to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. These people were naturally the cultivators of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. They also wanted to see what sort of character this legendary character of the Heaven region, a supreme genius from the Qin clan was. Qin Wenyan, Jun Mingchen and the others were also among the crowd. Jun Mingchen stared at the scene outside, at the sea of people below the stairway. He then sighed, "When would I be so glorious? Wherever I go, I would be the center of attention of the entire world." Senior brother, what sort of character do you think the Heaven's Son is? Do you want to hear the truth? Qin Wendian smiled. Naturally. Jun Mingchen nodded. His senior brother was also a supreme character. In the future, he would surely shock all the geniuses of the past and present. He wanted to know what his senior brother's evaluation of Qin Dangtian was. In the future, he is the person I want to defeat. Qin Wenyan stared at the horizons as he calmly spoke. Jun Mingchen's body trembled. After that, he laughed. "This is my senior brother. So what if he is the Heaven's Son?" Arrogant. A calm voice rang out. The person who spoke was a young man. His entire body radiated sharpness, like a supreme sword. This man was none other than a supreme genius on the Heavenly Tao rankings, a descendant of the sword god, Jian Qin. He was also the uncle of Jian Wuxian whom Qin Wenyan met back then. Qin Wenyan naturally met him before, but there was no conflict between them. It was impossible for Jian Qin to find trouble for him just because his nephew lost face in front of Qin Wenyan. That wouldn't be the magnanimity of a world overlord. But when he heard Qin Wenyan saying that he wanted to defeat the Heaven's Son, he still felt that Qin Wenyan was too arrogant. Even for those rankers on the Heavenly Tao rankings, they still didn't have the qualifications to be mentioned in the same breath as the Heaven's Son. Qin Wenyan glanced at Jian Qin and didn't say anything. So what if he was arrogant? But this was his fate. He had to defeat Qin Dangtian no matter what. There was no other path. They're here. At this moment, in the air far away, a commotion could be heard. After that, two figures appeared there, walking over. In just a few steps, they already arrived before the Heavenly Tao stairway. When the two of them descended, everything went completely silent. Not a single sound could be heard. It was as if the two of them were the only people left in the world. The two of them were too outstanding, so outstanding that no matter where they went, they would definitely become the main characters. Let alone when the two of them appeared together. Both of them were very young, one male and one female. The young man was clad in a cloak, his black hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were incomparably deep, like the starry skies. His face was extremely angular and with just a single glance, one would be unable to forget such a face. He exuded an extraordinary aura because he was a heavenly deity. Just by standing there, he exuded an aura that seemed to be peering down at the masses. This heavenly deity looked so young and so extraordinarily handsome. He was the future leader of the Qin clan, the Heaven's Son whose name shook the world, the youngest heavenly deity, Qin Dangtian of the Qin clan of the Heaven region. The other person was a female. Given Qin Dangtian's status, strength, talent, and status, who could be worthy of him? If there was one more person in the Heaven region, it would be none other than the female standing beside him. She stood there, even the radiance radiating from Qin Dangtian couldn't obscure her radiance. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating, so beautiful that she could mesmerize the hearts and souls of people. It was like as long as you glanced at her, you would never be able to forget her for the rest of your life. There were no words that could describe her beauty because there were no words to describe it. Qin Dangtian stood beside her, yet he wasn't able to steal away her radiance. In truth, the number of gazes staring at her was even more compared to Qin Dangtian. She was the number one beauty of the Heaven region, Goddess Nikhang. In the Heaven region, only Goddess Nikhang was most compatible with Heaven's Son Qin Dangtian. It was like they were born together, a match made in heaven and earth. The rumors aren't false. Nichang's beauty can cause the entire world to lose color. For her, one can give up everything in the world. This woman must be her. A world overlord from the Tiandao Sacred Academy silently mused. How resolute was the heart of a world overlord. A beauty was able to cause a world overlord to feel such emotions. From this, one could very well imagine how beautiful she was. The words of the world are all useless now. Someone sighed. How beautiful! Jun Mingchen sincerely praised. Qin Wentian's gaze had always been on Qin Dangtian. Only now did he notice Goddess Nikang. At the instant he saw her, he couldn't help but feel a little dazed. Although beauties were as common as the clouds around him, regardless of Qingqing, Qing, or Yi Qianyu, all of them could be considered supreme beauties. But when he saw Goddess Nikang, he couldn't help but admit that this was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Her beauty was even above Qing and Qingqing. That kind of transcendent beauty was like a true goddess from the 9 heavens. One day, if Qing and Qingqing could reach her level, they might be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with her. Goddess Nikang. Qin Wenin silently mused, instantly knowing her identity. He had been in the Heavenly Dao Library for many days. How could he not have seen the records of her? Goddess Nikang was a true goddess. Her father was a divinity, her grandfather was also a divinity. Her talent was also supreme, and if there was a Heavenly Dao ranking in the Heaven region, Goddess Nikang would definitely be on it. Heaven's Son or Goddess Nikang, no matter which one of them appeared, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Countless people would pay attention to them, let alone both of them appearing at the Tiandao Sacred Academy at the same time. It was like they were destined to be a pair. The people of the world could only look up to them in admiration. Qin Dangtian is here to pay a visit to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. At this moment, a voice rang out from Qin Dangtian. His aura was extraordinary, and as the sound of his voice faded, silence filled the air. I heard that Goddess Nichang's grandfather, Deity Chu, has a very good relationship with heavenly deity Qin Ding. Seems like the rumors are true. In the Tiandao Sacred Academy, a voice rang out. Heaven's Son Qin Dangtian and Goddess Nikang were together, like a match made in heaven. But in the past, there were no rumors of them being together. In the past, they weren't lovers. But what about now? Goddess Nichang's grandfather had a very good relationship with Qin Ding. In that case, their descendants, these two supreme young geniuses, had they already walked together like what the people of the world hoped for? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.